I've been bout my papyrus since I've been in it. Put me in the debate, you know I'm gon' win it. If I scream black power, don't get timid. If I say black city, I'm talking about Kemet. If I say black city, I'm talking about Kemet. Primary research and we done pushed it to the limits. All you dudes finished. The king counting cattle up with brother Reggie. When I'm in Oakland, smoking, bro, they love the Chevy. Back in the day, it was the spokes on the chariot. Long procession when the king got carried out to every spot. Woman looking nice as ISIS. I read ancient texts on purpose, ISIS priceless. Nubian gold, your ice don't entice us. Beating me harder than counting grains in your spices. Your heart was beating, but your brain dead, you're lifeless. Pseudo-intellectualism, yo, they ain't nothing like us, yo. Don't try to make me mad. Make me smile and say you love me, man. That's real right there. Yeah, come on. You should listen to your main man's advice. Do a YouTube, apologize like dice. Or the back fade coming like the Antichrist. Egyptologists sent me reading and said that I'm nice. I got a speller with your name on it. I'm like Sargon. You the type of dude wake up and your car gone. Told, cause of the money you owe. Before you stream, you should clean up that humble abode. Like I'm not in city for my woman in gold. I keep the pseudos running, people coming in droves. You catch me on a live stream with Pan-African James. When we building, call us by our African names. I'm for the children. And ain't nothing happen to change. We on that black hype, so we still packing them things for protection. Got connections, got connections. My complexion, pure black, that's the S. That's the S. Make me smile. You love me? Show me some love. All right. What up? Play this over tune real quick and get it in. Yeah, and I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Alright, it's getting kinda dirty in these YouTube streets. The Amira squad, God thinking you dudes weak. Islam or Judaism, where you learn what you dudes teach. The West African rappers slapping with that voodoo speech. All that sub-Saharan terror about a kufu feet. I'm like Norma, the agricultural farmer that grew you wheat for the storehouses. We feed the Hebrews and lead the people when we defeat the feeble. They wanna know, polite rip me off, but Sonetta paid me my money though, that mean he 100. And I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Nubian with the Jews, I rock the pinky. I think Jesus got to save me, a doctor save me, a doctor inky. I cop the copper jewels on blue and red. I'm not the chakra doctor y'all claim woke, but you in bed, you won't pop a chopper, you Grandmaster J. You just talking. Punks turn the other cheek and you will walk away. Y'all gon' have to pardon my Moorish. That's Tahaka Bay. I'm on that black African power on my darkest day. And that's my brother Ankh stomping them other punks. We brought them gators to Italy, loving the Moors. And now I'm teaching from my shrine like brother Jabari. Scoping the savannah cause I'm on another safari. Tasha K showed us Frank record. Young Pharaoh just losing his mind and y'all can't help him. I know one thing, you're a fool if you're still out here donating to Umar school. That shit through. And I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Look. You showing your hidden colors like Tariq Nasheed. A bunch of pseudo-information I don't think I need. Probably lying on the text, ask Divine or Zion Lax. Just get that microphone ready. With Metal Netta, I'm Stone Jetty. A Ujahu, a Saw Imhotep. Y'all probably timid still on them Bobby Hemmett teachings. I'm in Gozy with the DNA. Cats corny and it's killing me too. You talk that black shit, but you look Arab like Gorilla Hebrew. You need therapy, they telling me just chillin', be cool. I'm a magi orchard, you a sad guy talking. And I'm a work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going macaroni. In the building already, say something if you in the building, peace, peace, peace. See a few people already rolled through. I just got up, I ain't been streaming. My daughter graduated yesterday, so that felt real good. My youngest daughter, Savannah, just graduated. So I'm about to be an empty nester. My daughter got a rugby scholarship to LIU. So she about to be at LIU. They went, see, let me tell y'all, I told y'all, we fucks with it out here. Like we put them out there. So I came, put my daughters in a Catholic school. And Coach Marcus said, I'm gonna start a rugby team here. Just one of the homies. Cause he had a lot of young talented girls that he was like, y'all could be balling at an easy sport. He sent 3 of his, y'all can go watch, just go look at the rugby stats for last year. And you're gonna see the superstar player in college rugby who goes to Harvard right now. Her name is Cameron. I forgot her last name. She came from St. Mary's, right? And then 3 other girls was like, we gonna go to LIU. Bro, they went to LIU and LIU went undefeated last year in rugby. So now my daughter, the new one, going there. So shout out to Savannah Ray. Give her props. You know, that's what that is. So I just been chilling and just handling hella family business. I wish I had more time to stream, but it don't be like that. Sometimes you be having to work. You know, it seems like in the fall and in the winter, my streaming time free up hella much. Then I get to be like out there like how I want to be. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. I was just watching a cool video. Yeah, I know, I'm proud of her and I'm proud of all them girls. Oh, and then the other one is Jordan Lee, who go to Texas. Like they all was literally just chilling, kicking it, and they all got college careers and they changed. I mean, they affected their teams in the sport. Y'all know I kept telling y'all about Jordan Lee. Jordan Lee, she went to St. Mary's in Stockton too. The rookie freshman at Texas. And she was just with Maddie Booker giving them the work. They went to the Final Four. Shout out to Jordy. But yeah, so we here. That'd be a part of that fatherhood though, too, though. You start getting involved in the youth if you do have some of the, well, you know, I ain't gonna say you have a lot of downtime, but sometimes you might get that time where you got to shift over what you're focusing on. So I started focusing on hella youth sports and shit. That's just me just telling y'all what I've been up to. What's up with y'all? I was watching this video and it made me think about the pseudo-intellectuals, right? Hold on, I'm going to kick it right here for a minute. It made me think about the pseudo-intellectuals, right? That we've been dealing with. And so when you look up the term, if you think about the term intellectual out the gate, you're going to just think about somebody concerned with knowledge. But if we look up the definition, they'll talk more about a person. Let's see. Let me show this. An intellectual is a person who engages in critical thinking, research, and reflection about the nature of reality, especially the nature of society, and propose solutions for its normative problems. So you like, oh, okay, it don't necessarily got nothing to do with going to school, right? An intellectual is a person who engages in critical thinking, right? Huh? I don't think, maybe, nah, I don't want to. I'll talk to you about it in a minute. Intellectual, oh yeah. So, there's a lot of us who attempt or act like or even think it's cool are like the appearance of a critical thinker. We like to talk and act like we think critically, but in all honesty, sometimes I just have to understand we all have different logic parameters, right? Like we all got different logic. I said logic parameters, I mean what we base our some people don't deal with logic, but even if we think we're dealing with logic, what we know helps to guide us through the maze of, the algorithms of logical thought. You start to be like, oh, I mean, everything works algorithmically to me, just like computers. You have we say cause and effect, or we say action and a response. But those actions and those responses have a normal path that they go through. Somebody say, so just think about a chess game and the algorithms of a chess game too. And people don't like that I'm using the term algorithm, but it's all the same thing. A conversation has algorithms. So let's just think about it. Or I should say, a logical procession that these things progress. I mean, the way that things progress is normally logical. What I mean, if someone says, good morning to you, and we stop and if we're programming artificial intelligence to act like a human, then we'll be forced to deal with what I'm talking about these algorithms of life. If a person says good morning to you, you would program the natural and the level-headed, even balanced response would be to say good morning back. But so algorithmically, I'm just saying, I ain't trying to go too far. This is just how we be thinking, right? We talk about critical thinking and shit. Algorithmically, they just rejected your standard greeting, which they could have just accepted and went along the normal course of greetings and discourse. Instead, they want to take you someplace else. So, okay, I mean, I'm not going to go that much farther with that. We could probably do a whole show along those lines. But if we understand most interactions, because man, I'm not going to say somebody programmed all of these actions and all of the stuff. If you even believe in God, he had to at one point be limited in the amount of reactions a human could get. You can't just explode, right? Or you can't implode. You know how when you trapped by the police, then you feel like you wish you had some magical powers from your dreams and shit? Like you'd be like, oh, I wish I could dissolve. Well, you probably don't got the same type of brain as me, but I'll be like that. I'll be like, how come I could just, all right, now y'all gonna be like, what is the brother talking about? I'm trying to, see, you go too far down the line of critical thinking and the rats will run out the room. Because they really don't fuck with it like that. They don't want to go so far on a thought to where things start to be revealed. And I like to do that often, right? And we got some amongst us who like to pose as if they are those, but they don't give you nothing. You can even just listen to a critical thinker and listen to a person who is posing like a critical thinker, and the response that you're going to naturally get. You won't be insightfully challenged in any direction. You're going to be like, this is some bullshit. If you're a real person, I'm just saying. So we've been talking about Black history as it pertains to us, as it pertains to all Africans in the diaspora, as it pertains to Europeans and everything, world history. And we've had some amongst us who've really been trying their hardest because it's so free to do critical thinking. You could just say, okay, I'm going to just think about it and think about it and think about it. And then I'm going to make sure my thoughts are just not arbitrary thoughts. I'm going to categorize things and I'm going to figure it out. And we see some brothers who've made progress. I would try to humbly include myself in those brothers who have made some progress by simply applying critical thinking, research, to try to figure out some of these problems we got. But then we got those. See, that'd be the problem. When cats can't come up with nothing, they start hating, bruh. They start hating. Like, you can't just be no shining star amongst a bunch of people who with no ideas and shit. No critical thinking, no analysis, just a bunch of trying to get some views. You can't really get caught up in that. But I'm going to show y'all what got me hyped on that level, so y'all can feel me, because it was another brother, a very good channel I had not even be watching, and he started breaking it down, and I was like, man, I want to talk about that right now. And so, because he was talking about, and y'all probably seen this video, the channel is Signified B-Side, so shout out to him. And he was giving Mark Lamont Hill some props. And he said Mark Lamont Hill is on a killing spree. And in watching him, I started to be like, damn, well, the brother is breaking down a lot of the stuff we be going through. Right? Exactly. African teacher, peace to you. Exactly. He says, I see it every time I get on certain person streams, total charlatans acting as the expert using ChatGPT as an authority. And that's just one small group of the brothers doing that, and I'm aware of them too. But I've noticed as I watched him complain, I'm saying, hold on, this is part of a bigger phenomenon, right? But let's just watch some of this, dig into it. If y'all never, I'm going to subscribe right now. Look, Bow wasn't subscribed. Significant B-sides, maybe y'all are subscribed, and maybe y'all are part of this 255K people who have seen this video in 9 days, right? And so here's another thing. I love music. I am a musician, right? But I noticed something about how much people listen to music in the car. And I have a theory about that. And it's a lot about avoidance, right? Some of the people who don't like their brain to work, meaning your brain gonna start working when you got silence and shit, right? And then some of you might have to deal with idle thoughts that I don't have. I mean, I deal with that, but I allow my brain to flow freely. I don't believe that anything I can think of is just going to be like something negative. Some people who don't have brain control could be subjected to what we say, thoughts become things, right? And if you think about it, eventually it'll manifest in a way that is not just a thought anymore. So this is why even in the Bible, they teach simple beings about not having these idle or arbitrary thoughts just running around. So this makes some people avoid silence. And they need their brain to be steered in a certain direction. These the people keep the TV on. They keep, and if the TV ain't on, the radio gotta be on. Probably because they did some shit that if they get complete silence, your thoughts, all that shit you did about to pop up. So you keep the music on all the fucking time. All right, that ain't everybody, But I know it's a few people because I done witnessed that shit in my own life. Motherfuckers start getting uncomfortable when the music off. Ride in the car with somebody for a minute, turn off the music for like 3 minutes and see what happened. See who start breaking their composure and shit. Motherfuckers gonna start doing like vampires. Turn on some music. Turn on some music. My brain's attacking me. Oh, what's the matter with you? Sit there and think about that bullshit. Excuse me. But, you know, there's other things we deal with. Like, I'm not about to be too hard on people. Some people get anxiety and stuff, so I'm not going to say I'm just 100% facts. But I'm a grown man and I've experienced reality. I know what's going on. Try to take a long-ass ride and don't turn on the radio. Man, you're going to be all in your brain about things you did as a kid, all kind of shit. So people don't like that. I'm on a tangent. We're going to let the good brother right here break it down because this is what inspired me to even start talking about it. And I'm not, excuse me, his video is 12 minutes. I won't play the whole video, but I'll play enough of it so that we can get the gist of what he breaking down because he ain't even talking about that. He's talking about a phenomenon that we all been going through on different subject matters. Check this out.
But not that many. Shout out to the Black podcast land is mostly a parade of atrocities. There's a few good joints, a few, but not that many. Shout out to the Grits and Eggs podcast. I'm trying to make that happen soon. I like Higher Learning a little bit. Shout out to the Poor Minds. Shout out to Jokes on You. There's good entertainment, like knowledge sharing and other stuff happening out there in podcast land in some places. The rest of them, it's like a scene from Mad Max and there's hot garbage everywhere. And then all of a sudden, Mark Lamont Hill just made me realize that maybe things can be better. So if you don't know who Mark Lamont Hill is not an OG talking head. He hasn't been around for that long, but he's a talking head that popped up in various newscasts over the last decade or so. He is a PhD professor at, I believe, Johns Hopkins. My bad, Mark, if I got that wrong. I've also interviewed Mark on my main channel. Interview is on the podcast channel. Mark is a staunch leftist, has voted third party consistently, an anti-Zionist. His anti-Zionism stances cost him his spot on MSNBC, so he's put it on the line. And in this new era of his career, aside from having a dope YouTube channel, he's also been appearing regularly on the Joe Budden podcast. Joe Budden, I feel like, has to have the biggest black or hip-hop oriented podcast out there right now. And it's not as bad as Black Podcast Land can be. They've had some really bad moments, but there's also much worse podcasts out there. And they've had some decent moments, and especially in the fact that they've changed a lot over the years. And, you know, of all the hip-hop related podcasts, they tend to talk music, like actual music more, which I appreciate. But like many in podcast land, they tend to be a haven of what I've termed PINN. Those of you who know me know that PINN, or PIN, stands for Pseudo-intellectual Negro Nonsense. PIN is a danger.
Let's go back because I needed this statement and I need everybody on my show to know what this means. PIN. Because when I start saying PIN,
those of you who know me,
he in the pen, bruh. Don't come in here, but he in the pen, bruh.
We know that PINN, or PIN, stands for Pseudo-intellectual Negro Nonsense.
Man, check this out. Didn't we have a statement like that on this show, man? Pen is cool. I'm rocking with pen. Hey, yeah, that's what that is. But we have one on this show that was a statement that we would call out these charlatans, right? And I forgot what we used to say. Somebody gonna remember. But yeah, man, that's what we've been dealing with, y'all. Pseudo-intellectual Negro nonsense. Oh, okay. Now, all right, we talk about Negro intuition, which is a very good thing. There were so many times when, let me come on the big screen, man. I don't want nobody to think I'm hard on Negro intuition. That shit worked. Like, it worked for hella centuries when you didn't have computers, right? You didn't have no computer. Somebody said, which way to go? And Johnny just looked around and was like, we're going this way, son. And everybody went that way, and it was the right way. That's when you needed Negro intuition and stuff to figure it out. When you didn't have any other factors. Actually, just to be real, in the sense of language and linguistics, intuition is a beautiful thing. It's to be able to obtain knowledge without any sources. That's what intuition is. And I could just define shit my own way because I'm good with the English language, but you cannot disagree. Intuition is the ability to obtain knowledge with no sources. But don't be confused, because now we call Negro intuition when y'all just don't got no sources, so y'all get to bumping y'all gums like the barbershop on how the world went down. I can see, if they did that, then they probably would have, if the Egyptians, why the Egyptians would have called themselves black if everybody was black? See, that's some real good pseudo-intellectual Negro nonsense. Tell the truth. And why do I call it Negro nonsense? Because I heard a white lady say that shit too. You feel me? But the ones out here champion that is brothers. What is what that? But let's get back to his good breakdown, right?
Pen is a dangerous thing in the black community because it's where intelligent or intelligent sounding black men and women get to say really dumb things, but in an intelligent way and get away with it because it sounds right. And because they are pseudo-intellectuals and not real intellectuals, they are much more invested in sounding correct than actually being correct. And you already know where this is going. The Joe Budden podcast has one of the most notable PINNs around right now, one Antoine Ish Marby. I think I'm saying his name right, no disrespect if I'm not. And Ish has kind of been the butt.
Now, this is his own opinion about Ish. I agree with his opinion about pseudo-intellectuals. I just don't watch Joe Budden podcast enough to know if the guy he's accusing of being one is actually one. So I'm just going to take his point of view from right now.
Boy of Joe Budden for the last year or so, mostly because of him being like this singular hardcore Drake fan. He wasn't like really standing for Drake. He wasn't Mal or whatever the other dude from the old Joe Budden podcast was, but he definitely was struggling with watching Drake lose as handily as he did in that battle. And since then, he's caught his fair share of jokes, maybe even more than his fair share. But in doing that, he's shown that pen tendency to refuse to be wrong, to refuse some learning from certain experiences. A pen that makes a mistake presumes the fault of their mistake to be with someone else, while a real intellectual makes a mistake and
damn, y'all gotta hear what he's saying about these pens. Listen.
To be with someone else, while a real intellectual makes a mistake, learning from certain experiences. A pen that makes a mistake presumes the fault of their mistake to be with someone else, while a real intellectual makes a mistake and then self-evaluates on what.
Also, a pen make a mistake, they assume that their mistake is the fault of somebody else. Like if you can't read the ancient Egyptian language and somebody who could read and say that this say black, then you think that's my mistake and you go looking for a scholar to prove that that's a mistake.
Why that mistake has been made. And I don't watch enough Joe Budden podcasts to say this is the case with Ish, but I kind of perceive that to be the case. I won't down that hill though. All that said, I don't want to pick on Ish too much because I think in this case, he's maybe being treated a bit unfairly by the audience because of how he comes off. And it's important to recognize that Ish is a successful businessman and real estate person before the Budden podcast. He's not like a pure barbershop philosopher just saying dumb shit out of his ass. He at least has reason to see himself as an intellectual and as a successful and forward-thinking man. For I understand, he was in corporate America before he got into real estate. I believe he has a degree from Morgan State University, which is a top tier HBCU, probably top 5 among HBCUs. And I can tell you as an HBCU grad that like any university, there's a chance that someone gets their degree without becoming all that knowledgeable. They may know things, but knowing things doesn't necessarily make you an intellectual. being an intellectual means also, along with like knowing stuff, is having critical thinking, doing real research, not just Wikipedia or YouTube or barbershop research, and most importantly, having reflexivity and self-reflection on your learning so that you're using essentially a scientific method towards your own attainment of knowledge versus saying,
I know this thing, and because I know this thing, I can use that knowledge to dominate a space or a conversation,
even if that knowledge is outdated or incorrect.
Now, did he just break down everything Cat's been going through? Cat's gonna use that sound like he was describing Chief X. Like when this part came on. Look, watch.
Versus saying,
I know this thing, and because I know this thing, I can use that knowledge to dominate a space or a conversation,
even if that knowledge is outdated or incorrect. Quick sports analogy to make this.
Man, he was talking about Chief X. I know this one thing, and I'm going to use this one thing to dominate this space, even though I know that this knowledge is incorrect. He wasn't talking about Chief X and a bunch of other people like that. They know for a fact that the white invading race theory for Africa, for Egypt, is incorrect. But what they do, they put it on thick. Thicker than Remy and Papoose. They put it on, oh man, golly, man. Breakups. Don't have me segue to the breakups. I won't have to, but I just wish that didn't happen. I ain't even got to speak on that right now. But it'll get ugly. I want to hear the first rap metaphors Cats is saying about that. Like Remy and Papoose.
Makes sense. I'm a sports creator now. Y'all saw the Deion Sanders video. Y'all gotta respect my game now. So Bill Belichick, weird freaky frog with a 24-year-old girlfriend. We talked about that on the Twitch channel. I have to leave it alone for now. But along with being a weird freaky frog old man, he's also an extremely overrated coach. Like, I will die on the hill that he's probably the most overrated champion in all of sports history. He is great and knowledgeable as a defensive mind, but he only has the status he has, the rings he has, because he happened to luck upon the greatest quarterback in the history of football. And I hate that I'm saying that. I am an OG Tom Brady hater, but I'm a hater in the true sense in that I'm just jealous of his success. I have no reason to look at Tom Brady, no argument against Tom Brady as the greatest quarterback of all time. And proof of that is the fact that he drugged Bill Belichick's medium coaching, poor team building ass to 6 Super Bowl wins. And we see exactly what happened to Bill Belichick when Tom Brady left. He's out the league now. Whereas Tom Brady, if he wanted to, could come back right now and join the Steelers. Conversely, you have Andy Reid. Goofy insurance commercials aside, Andy Reid, for my money, is the greatest coach in the history of the NFL, mostly because he's made it happen. He's been an elite coach with a multitude of situations. He's been a top tier coach with elite QBs like Donovan McNabb and Patrick Mahomes, but he's also won with Mike Vick and Alex Smith and Kevin Kolb. And if you don't know ball, you probably don't even remember who Kevin Kolb is. This is because, unlike Belichick, Reid is a student of the game and of the world. Belichick and pseudo-intellectuals have a specific vision of whatever it is they're in, whatever part of the world they inhabit, and they force the world to always fit within that vision. They have no other understanding or framework for understanding things around them. Reid and real intellectuals have a baseline framework that they consistently update and rearrange and evaluate and change based on the data and information around them. So I want to be clear, when I'm calling someone a pseudo-intellectual, I'm not calling them dumb in terms of what they know, but they're dumb in terms of how they engage with what they know and how they engage with what they do not know. Because the reality is that pseudo-intellectualism, as you can see from Ish to, what's the dude name?
Yeah, I don't know
what's
about
this dude's
football
name?
Parts.
I'm glad Babilla isn't editing this because he'd make fun of me right now. Come on, man. He used to be Iron Man friend, but then he got kicked off because he's a weirdo. I just did a video about this. What is this dude's name? Terrence Howard. All right. The sheer will to force the world into little boxes and categories so you can make sense of it is useful for pursuing material success in the capitalist world. That's why Ish can be as successful as he is. You have people like Terrence Howard who managed to get invited to Harvard or Yale or whatever, clearly not knowing what the fuck he was talking about. Like, that's what pseudo-intellectualism can get you. And again, I don't know Ish, I just know an HBCU hustler bro when I see one. So respect due to that. But what happens when a pseudo-intellectual meets a real intellectual in an environment where they can't browbeat, out-yell, or out-argue people? Things can get real uncomfortable for the pseudo-intellectual, and that's what's been happening to Ish on the Joe Budden podcast. You have Dr. Mark Lamont Hill, a lifelong...
I wanted to see, I could have just started at the Mark Lamont Hill, but nah, that breakdown was all good. I enjoyed it, and I'm even watching more of the video that I intended to, because he's breaking some stuff down, but sometimes you can give an analogy that people don't agree with, like the football stuff, and then it seems like you don't know what you're talking about. He's still breaking it down.
To Ish on the Joe Budden podcast. You have Dr. Mark Lamont Hill, a lifelong scholar and researcher, in a space where he low-key normally wouldn't be invited. Sorry to be shady, but like, there has always been highly intelligent black men from all walks of life. But having scholars like Mark Lamont Hill go from university classroom to podcast couch, that is rare. A lot of these podcasts thrive on not being challenged by real intellectuals, and their audience doesn't want to be challenged in that way either. The handful of people that are hating on Mark Lamont Hill are mostly hating on him because he understands things better than they do, and they don't like how that feels. And I get that to an extent because many, if not most, intellectuals are assholes and condescending and off-putting to certain audiences. So a shouty, not extremely highbrow show like the Joe Budden podcast, which once hosted Kevin Samuels back in the day, having Mark on as a recurring guest is special. And I love that he's entered Black podcast land, and he's doing a lot of good work challenging some of the awful opinions that go unchallenged in those spaces. And the result is a man like Ish, an intelligent, successful man who is highly regarded in many rooms he enters, feeling kind of sunned and like belittled by someone who is superior to him in this particular venue. Like, you can see it in Ish's posture and like the frustration he has that he is presenting ridiculous things like believing the earth is flat as, like, if you've ever argued with a real flat earther, you know they're not dumb, they're just pseudo-intellectuals. They're actually usually pretty smart, pretty nimble, pretty quick-witted, but this is like a practice task that they have. That's a practice task that happens with a lot of pseudo-intellectuals because they love to argue and they get really good at it. The problem is they never learn anything in the process. To them, arguing is just a contest to win, not an opportunity to learn anything. And now that Ish is in a situation where he's being forced to learn, he does not seem to like it. But what's really interesting to me and requires further evaluation and a little tact maybe is Mark's politics and what he embodies, being a leftist, being a male feminist, etc. These are often things that dudes like Ish will disregard outright. Not saying that Ish is red pill, but the types of dudes that are red pill tend to act like Ish. I'm just keeping it a buck with y'all. And those types of dudes watch Joe Budden, but notice how much love Mark Lamont Hill is getting from the general Joe Budden podcast audience, at least for now. Not like during the show the whole time. During the show, Mark plays it cool and coy and isn't like too demonstrative with the fact that he knows way more than everyone else on that couch. A different angle to take on this is shout out to everybody else on the Joe Budden podcast for not being like small-minded and insecure about the fact that they have a real intellectual there. In my personal experience, I feel like I've seen before is that dudes that are used to being the smartest people in the room that enter rooms specifically to fulfill that role hate when someone else smarter than them comes in the room and doesn't mind showing the difference. But them dudes are like, yeah, this is dope. We have a difference of opinion. We have somebody that is intellectual and has a lot of knowledge in certain things. And it's not always smooth, but it's way better than like you would have imagined. And part of that does also go to Mark Lamont Hill, who is showing a lot of patience and restraint at times because he's modeling something that I think a lot of progressives and leftists also need to do, which is like learning how to talk to people for the sake of enriching and like spreading knowledge versus dominating and browbeating them and showing them that you're right and they're wrong.
Now, Mark Lamont here was on Sonetta too, doing the same thing. And I'm just stopping it right there because, you know, I mean, I wish I could have. Let me see. I seen him debating on Sonetta. Not really debating like he had a debate. But I guess I should go Sonetta page and then search Mark Lamont Hill now. I seen him engaging some brothers in the way that he was just talking about. And he was trying to be, gentle or whatever. Let me see if I can search Sonetta page. Mark Lamont Hill. Dang, it ain't got nothing with Mark Lamont Hill on here. Must have been the other channel. Let me see. All right, forget it then. I thought we had that on there. Check Hill's education and career. What's up, SOT 11? SOT 12. Check Hill's education career. I'm cool. I know he's supposed to be a PhD, but I ain't really tripping. I didn't want to go hard. I mean, I agree with the take that he was having, but I don't know the discourse between that. Maybe Saw did take that old video down with him and Mark Lamont Hill. But I think he was talking to Captain Tazaria or somebody on there. All right, so what's up, Doc? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to teach a man how to be a critical thinker. I could give some recommendations. One of the best recommendations would be to learn how to play chess. Right? A little bit. Have you seen people who be taking, I know hella rappers who done took pictures and shit by the chessboard and can't play no chess and shit. I don't even understand that part of the game. Well, I guess I do. But learning how to play chess is just a little bit. I mean, I don't have no answers to that. How to become a critical thinker. Maybe there's books on that. Maybe there's people, but it is definitely valuable. Right? And they say that Homo sapiens sapien is the thinking man, right? So then that's part of it. Read more. My mother, African teacher, said read more. Definitely. Definitely. But I would just encourage it, and any silence will encourage critical thinking. Like sometimes you gotta spend some quiet time, like at the park by yourself, and just sit there. I'm just giving out just man advice. I ain't got the answers. I'm just saying though. I used to go to I used to go to the library to be at a place where silence was like king and you supposed to be quiet. So I got knowledge all around me, and everybody's supposed to be quiet. Maybe I could get a little further and figure some stuff out. You know what I'm saying? What am I looking at here? Yeah, I was on South Page. I know who was that, Dr. Kilimanjaro. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he wrote a series of books on research methods and stuff like that. I know it might sound funny or whatever, but I mean not funny because I'm like, people really just ain't gonna the average brother ain't gonna just grab a book on research methods and be reading that shit. You gotta be more mature to get to that point. So I'm saying games like chess will introduce that critical thinking to 18, 19, even grown men, right? to make them say, no, wait, don't just move, right? Think about what's gonna happen when you make that move. Cats be doing criminal moves, criminal penitentiary chances, life-threatening moves without even giving it no thought. So think about this. Why do you think thinking about and planning, even if it's a crime, why do you think that's an additional crime? Doing the crime is one thing, but thinking about it is another crime. It's premeditated. Because they know you think about some shit, that's already a crime. You see what I'm saying? Like, they know that that's another fold on top of the reality of what occurred. You gave it thought, you executed a plan. That's an additional crime on top of the crime of just the crime happening. Anyway, I ain't tripping. I just noticed that we need to, when you see the pen, when they in the pen, the pseudo-intellectual Negro nonsense get to spewing all over the floor, just say he in the pen. And everybody gonna know what you're talking about. Lord, let me see. Everybody know what you're talking about. Critical thinking is a skill everyone doesn't have. I know I was thinking about that, ATL boy. I don't think that, it's required for living a successful life. You can be basic, do the things other people tell you to do things like other people have done, and you can succeed. Right?
My brother's.
Hold on. All right. So, what is his name? Traore? Captain Ibrahim Traore? Am I saying that right? I don't know, but it seemed like this brother was showing hella So first of all, I don't got nothing against dude, but when I start watching this podcast, he started blinking hella much. Like he was like, every time he looked at the camera, but then when he looked away from the camera, he didn't blink that much. And I don't like that shit. Just the way I read body language. I'm like, okay, if you was blinking that much when you look away from the camera, then I could, I know I'm crazy, now I'm not thinking critically, but it just turned me off. But one thing he was showing here in this video is what he calls Black Americans. What Black Americans did to Ibrahim Traore is shocked the entire world. This is sisters saying they support the brother, right?
Inspired by the way that the entire world came together in support of President Ibrahim Traore. I want to speak specifically to my brothers and sisters in the diaspora and in the African nation. African Americans are not your enemy. We are with you, we are proud of you, and we stand with you. We are to become one empire, one people. If you cross one of us, you cross all of us.
I don't know.
And as for African Americans,
I'm not saying I don't know what she's saying. Let's hear what the brother's saying. Now tell me, I know I'll be overcritical, but if somebody was in my face, and they start blinking this much when they looked into my eye, but then they turned away, and then they didn't have the same blinking problem, I would be feeling like something was up. That's just me overdoing stuff.
Only be done in our own republic. We need to become partners with these nations.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching my videos from. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much
And
for
they talking like
joining
that,
here.
man. Shut that shit. I'm instantly hating on bruh. Sorry, dude. Like, I'm sorry. Yo, channel, you probably a wonderful person, and I'm a bad judge of character, right? Or something in your eyes, but bruh, it's looking like you trying to
Now, I'm requesting you to comment down there if there is something you want me to change, if there is something that is not fitting your standards, and if it's something that you just need me to work on it, just tell me in the comment section, and I will work on it because you are. Welcome back. Today
See,
we
this
are
shit is
talking
that
about
bullshit. When anybody be in this, man, you don't talk like that. Shut up. I'm turning this off. I'm about to turn this off. I'm getting mad, bruh. I don't even care. I got nothing against the brother. He's not even on here for my scrutiny. And my spidey senses just be like, why you talking like that? And then you can't even do it right. You keep blinking and shit. Can't even look into the camera. Look at this shit.
something powerful, something that mainstream media doesn't want you to know, something that honestly shocked governments across the world, something that shocked.
Now, if he's 100% genuine, look, I caught him. You can see the real motherfucker when you press pause. Caught him. That's who he is right there. Don't listen to all that. Now I'm do 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 do. I'm turned off, bruh. I had to stop watching the video. And if you calling me petty, that's just how it is in the world. Get on the internet doing all this fake shit. Hi, you guys. I went to shut that shit up. Anyway, I was gonna watch the video. I can't even watch it no more. Because it's so disingenuous to be presenting yourself to the world. We supposed to be brothers. You talking all fake to the motherfucker? Nope, can't watch it. Anyway, I be tripping him. Maybe I should present myself in a way that you guys could think that I am not harmful to you. And then when I get your credit card account and all of your numbers, then I can laugh like I really do. You stupid motherfucker. But I be seeing this, all right. Now it's a little bit of intended. I don't, my stuff. Some of it is intended jokes. It might turn you off, but I'm just joke that dude expense. I seen the real him when I press pause, bro. I know that's not Captain. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Haley. I definitely know that's not Captain, right? And I'm not trying to say his name wrong. So look, this is what I was saying. I just got turned off at the podcaster simply because of me being petty. No big deal. You just reminded me of my point of coming to the video, Haley, and I salute you for that. Because I got so distracted by what I perceived as just a disingenuous character talking, even though he talking about what he talking about. It's just, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Dude could be the most honest dude in the world.
For joining here. Now, I'm requesting you to comment down there if there is something you want me to change, if there is something that is not fitting your standards, and if it's something that you just need me to work on it, just tell me in the comment section, and I will work on it because you are. Welcome back. Today we are talking about something powerful, something that mainstream media doesn't want you to know, something that honestly shocked governments across the world, something that shocked the white people, something that shocked the Western powers. The media did not talk about that so much. We just saw it on social medias. We just saw it on TikTok, creators working on it. I talked about it. And yes, a young African leader in the heart of West Africa received support from across the diaspora, from Harlem to Kingston. And it wasn't just symbolic, it was digital, it was cultural, it was spiritual, and in some cases even political. This is more than a viral moment. This was a global black awakening. Captain Ibrahim Traore is not your average president, just 36 years old, youngest head of state in the...
Side 12 said there's a big trend right now. African channels commented on American race issues, but this is different. He's talking about, I feel you on that, Side 12. That might be true. And no, I did like this video. What I didn't like was just the presentation, but I'm done being goofy. I'm back to the reason why I really came here.
The world. In 2022, he led a coup d'etat in Burkina Faso, removed the French-backed puppet, and declared the country was ready to stand on its own feet. No more exploitation, no more foreign mining farms, and most importantly, no more neocolonialism. He kicked out the French military, started forming alliances across Africa and beyond. And when he spoke boldly, like the younger version of Thomas Sankara, unapologetically African. And that caught the attention of black Americans or black people all over the world. Now, before I go on with my commentary, I want there's some videos here I've featured of black Americans and
I'm still playing it. And I'll recommend this channel.
Arabians. I want you to listen to these clips of African in diaspora. The support they gave to Ibrahim Traore shocked everyone. No one believed it. It has been long since African or black people joined hands for a purpose, and that purpose is deep inside Africa. Let's watch these clips and then we'll come back with the more commentary.
Tell us why you think there's such an uprising around the world. Blacks, Africans all around the world seem to be cheering this guy on. I mean, they're coming out in droves for rallies in support of him, wanting the West to keep their hands off.
Hands off, yep.
Yeah, why do you think and even here in the United States, I'm seeing a lot of support with in the black churches, the pastors coming out and saying, talking about this guy and this leader and praying that the Lord protect him. I mean, why do you think there is such a rallying around him?
When you are from a community whose leadership has been executed by force, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Bunchy Carter from the Black Panthers, you cannot help but feel resonance with other black communities who have lost leaders by deep state execution. Patrice Lumumba of the Congo. Thomas Sankara himself was executed under suspicious circumstances that fit the deep state model. And everybody in Africa knows it. And so we have all, in a collective sense, as black folks in the diaspora, have felt the need for somebody to rise up like this again. We tried leaderless resistance. Leaderless resistance has its merits, but actually leadership encapsulated in a person with integrity and with force is something that has hit us all in a very real, deep way, because we know that we need it. So now we have somebody who's embodying this example. And that's why, regardless of where you stand in the diaspora, everybody resonates with Ibrahim. It's like, can we have somebody who's forceful enough to protect what's being built and not use that force to prey upon the people? Here in Black America, we had plenty of greedy, moocher people, who talked a good game, but didn't back it up. Didn't stand on business for the actual people they said they were serving. So Ibrahim shows up and we're like, can we get more of this, please? Thank you. And that's why people are resonating all across the world.
Yeah, it's interesting that, when I look at what's gone on in Burkina Faso and, it's like the West. So the West obviously got into the slave trade and did that until they could no longer do that. And when that was no longer okay, it was like, okay, all right, fine. We can't do slavery, but we'll figure out another way to siphon resources. We'll figure out another way to control. And we'll do it through like these multinational corporations that'll basically just come in and own everything. They'll come in and siphon all the resources, own everything, and the people will essentially still be enslaved to us, but just using economic slavery rather than actual bonded in chain.
Greetings. So, I am an American, and even though I'm unable to fight in the war in Burkina Faso, with President Ibrahim Traore.
What?
I stand with you and I support you, Ibrahim Traore. Not everyone in America
Traore.
is going for this bullshit. The government has no reason to be, or grounds to be, trying to take your country's gold and trying to just bully you and bogart and just take what they want, trying to hunt you down, trying to kill you, murder you. I do not agree with it.
Maybe
I
she
do not
know
agree
more
with
than
it.
me, but
And
all
it's
that
time
happened so far?
for all of us to stand up.
I'm sorry for being uninformed
and
about
not
what
just
she talking
blacks, not just the African diaspora, but everyone. Everyone. We don't have a right. And when I say we, I mean the government. They don't have a right, because I would never do anything like that. I would never do no shit like that. Going over into another country.
Man, she made up a lot of the stuff she said. She's just trying to give him some blind defense. But from my limited information, she's saying stuff that we shouldn't even be saying yet.
And then when you can't get what you want, you're going to try to bully them. And then you use little black Uncle Toms to go and do your dirty work. Stand your ground. Burkina Faso, stand your ground. Stand your ground. And I call upon all the African diaspora, all, help this country. Help. Stop hiding behind your presidential roles and your governmental roles, and hiding because you're afraid they might do something to you. They probably put some money in your pocket. Well, it's time to stand up. It's time to let this shit go. It's time to come together. So, Ibrahim Traore, we love you here in America. We love you and we support you.
Hey y'all, hey. So I've been down this, I wouldn't even call it a rabbit hole. I feel like we need to be educated on what's going on in Africa because we're not going to get it from our news media. And I feel like all black people, I don't care on what side of what issue you're on, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, it makes us know never.
Where do y'all, and this is a good question for everybody listening. Excuse me, I need some water. Where do y'all get y'all information on Africa? I'm talking to black Americans or people who not in Africa. Then my brothers who watching that are in Africa could tell me what are the credible sources for information. I ain't really tripping that she was uninformed. It's Haley seems to say that she was informed. I heard her say something about attempts on his life. I'm sorry about not knowing about that. I thought he was well protected and that had not happened yet. And she was talking about the America taking something. Am I tripping? America trying? I thought he was dealing with the French and stuff. But y'all can inform me better and have it so that we, in this workshop, we figure out what's going on. Now, what I was saying about this brother earlier was simply the way I read people, when it had nothing to do with nothing else. But when two men meet each other, right? I just met him on the internet, and he started doing all that blinking. I ain't going back to that, but I'm just saying that's all I was saying, is you can't look the camera in the eyes. If you can't look the camera in the eyes, then I don't really want to talk no more. That's all I was saying. Like, look, see, when he looked down, he don't have a blinking issue, but when he looked up, he get the flipping,
Thank you
flapping
so
his
much
eyes and
for
shit.
joining here.
I'm cool on that, and that's all I was saying. I don't know nothing bad about the brother. He looked like a young brother, and I enjoy his information. But just like some older men need to tell younger men about their demeanor, and I had to do that this weekend with my young nephew. Like, men, like, who's a man who remember a man telling you, suck your stomach in and stand up straight? If you never been told that, that's half the problem in the world right now. And if you feel me? You trying to tell me when we was younger, none of y'all got told by older men how to have the proper demeanor, body language, everything? So I ain't going off on a tangent with that. I'm just simply saying, I remember being told not to be walking around just loose body with your stomach all hanging out. Stand up straight, son. So that's all. It's about demeanor. And if you look in the man, somebody in the eyes, what the fuck you let something in your shit? But I apologize for going back there. We was making progress and start talking about the subject. So I'm gonna get back to the subject. But that's all I was saying. I didn't have no hate for bro.
Time to let this shit go. It's time to come together. So, Ibrahim Traore, we love you here in America. We love you and we support you.
Hey y'all, hey. So I've been down this, I wouldn't even call it a rabbit hole. I feel like we need to be educated on what's going on in Africa because we're not going to get it from our news media. And I feel like all Black people, I don't care on what side of what issue you're on, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, it makes us know, never mind. There is something that we need to be paying attention to, and that is West Africa or Burkina Faso. We need to be paying attention to Niger, and there's another country that's involved in this as well, but they're all African, and we need to be paying attention. I feel like the news media over here, they want to thrust us in things and distract us because there's something going on in the background that we need to be paying attention to, and this particular issue is one of them. I've been posting about it on my social media pages for days.
I definitely think we need to be paying attention to it, but you know, as much, and we should offer the support we can, just like other European nations offer support to each other, and even he's being offered support by Russia, I heard. So I'm not like, but you know, we talking about shit in Africa, so why can't Africans talk about what's going on in America? I was reading them comments. I don't even get it.
It doesn't really even get played a lot. I think that some of them are even screening the stuff that I post, but it's fine. I'm just making sure that the people who are friends on my page, I have 8,000 followers, and sure that everybody.
Okay, thank you, Solomonic. I think I've been informed that he's heard there were multiple attempts on Traore's life. It seems something you could expect in a world like this, but since I have not been following it so much, I'm learning a lot from y'all, right? And watching posts like this. I didn't know there were multiple attempts on his life.
That is connected to me is aware of this situation. Because if the United States or any of our counterparts harm this man, it's going to be a real problem out here. And for us to not be paying attention to that, but this particular situation warrants our attention. It warrants our real attention. We need to be supporting. We need to be supporting with posting about this. We need to be sharing the information. We need to be talking to our congressmen. We need to let them know by under no circumstances are we down with.
Chef Moose said over 40 attempts on his life. Golly.
Anything happening to that young man in Burkina Faso, President Ibrahim Traore. I hope I'm not saying his name wrong, but y'all know who I'm talking about. Like, we need to be making sure that they know that we are paying attention. And the fact that they trying to use a brother in a general uniform. Now, y'all check this. Donald Trump has dismantled or fired or dismissed every African-American military leader, except this one. And this one is taking his melanated ass over to our country, our land, where we originate from, and to try to start some confusion. I just know the Lord is not going to let it happen like that. And so all of us who are prayer warriors, who believe in what is right, we need to make sure that this brother know that we got our eyes on you too. And you think this young brother didn't survive 20 assassination attempts for you to come show your conniving face? We need to let you know too, my brother, that we are watching. We watching to see how you gonna behave, especially behind an administration who treated us the way that it has.
Hold on.
So please.
Now I'm just doing the YouTube watch. And I'm sorry, just from the one sister who was talking before her, she seemed like she knows what she's talking about, like she got some information. If all of this stuff is happening the way that she's telling me, I'm letting you know that's my first time hearing about it. That's crazy. And I'm not like. So let me talk about something, because we was just talking about pseudo-intellectuals, right? And it'd be people who get on YouTube and try to act like they know everything about every subject. And I'd be like, hold on, don't you do better than that? Why is you talking like you a specialist on this other stuff we talk? Anyway, my point is, I ain't be trying to do that. A lot of the times, a lot of the people who watch my show and a lot of the videos I watch are a lot more informed than I am already. And I'll be like trying to see what's really going on in real time.
My brothers and sisters, I don't really even care what your hue is at this point. If you stand for right, you stand on the same side as me. And I just want everyone to know that we are praying. We are praying for the president of Burkina Faso. Hey, y'all. Hey, happy Tuesday. I wanted to address this.
So I feel like everybody share a similar sentiment that he's doing a good job, and we need him to be able to continue doing his job. But praying, we got, it's the full extent of our support being left to wishful thinking, then we still ain't really, other people be taking action and stuff. All I did witness was his escort that he had when he was going to Russia, and it seemed like they made, good security measures for his trip to Russia, or if I'm saying that right. They sent fat planes, everything, and had a full escort for the brother. But come on now, I don't know. You know how they are. In a minute, they're going to be talking about an uprising in Burkina Faso, where they're trying to find some rebels to arm, right? Arm some rebels and then get them to try to mess up that society. Hold on, man. Yo. Let me see. Yo. All right, let me see. I ain't even tripping. Somebody can, Shazmo, come tell me something, and you can inform the people about what's going on. Let me see. I'm going to try to see if I can get this popping. All right. All right, hold. Give me a second, y'all. Well, the process of Africans getting their land back from colonists, Europeans, is about to be a crazy process. You see how Trump doing with the South African stuff, right? So let me see. I'll share a link. If y'all want to build, hit the link. Sunday school, we just in here learning. Let me see. Yeah, but the ultimate thing about trying not to wind up being a pseudo-intellectual is learn how to apply some critical thinking. Like, ain't nobody saying that they dang, where's the, I guess I gotta find the chat some other way. Let me find the chat real quick. Post a link in the chat, see what y'all talking about. Ain't nobody. Shout out, we got 37 likes. It say like 54 people. Hit the like button if you ain't hit the like already. And then we got a link I just put up and pinned to the top. In case y'all want to hit the Zoom, then we could get to that business. Oh, somebody want to tell us about Traore, Ibrahim. Don't say the name right. Let's get it in. Feel free to hit that link. What I know about Divine Styler, peace to Divine Styler. We used to listen to a lot of Divine Styler when I was younger. It's a black general in Congress trying to get, all right. It's a black U.S. general that is trying to get Congress to stop him. That's a damn shame. Stop him from doing what? I don't know. I'm going to research it. Thanks for putting me up. I just opened up the link in case somebody wanted to build. If not, I'm just going to be doing my thing. Get to doing what I do. I've been doing a lot of editing, man. A lot of editing. Peace, Joey.
Yeah, what's up, Smash?
Chilling. What's up with you?
Yeah, man. I think I remember him saying, if I'm not mistaken, that the French were trying to get his own people to turn against him, and they came and told him about it.
Yeah, that seems logical. I mean, that seems like, something they would do.
And my personal view on this South African thing is, I think that the government need to send more white people to America and get rid of them. You don't think so?
Pardon me?
I said, I think if they want to come to America so bad, the South African government should really send them to America. And when they come here, tell them they can't come back to Africa. That's what I would do.
I don't get it. Why would you do that?
Because they want to come to America and you want to get rid of them. So send them to America. And if they do, and when they go, they cannot come back.
But you can't, that don't sound logical. That don't sound realistic. Like, I don't get what you're saying. Because you trying to say like it's a unanimous that all white African farmers agree with the propaganda that's spread by a few of them?
But it doesn't matter. Those who want to go could go and don't come back. You can't tell me, you can't want to say you're being, and if you leave, don't come back.
All right, that's fine. All you gotta just do is revoke their citizenship once they get citizenship someplace else. But you saying something like deporting the other ones that didn't say they wanted to leave.
I said, well, Smash who want to go could go.
Huh?
But don't. And I can help you go if you want to go, but don't come back. That's my feeling. Because you're saying you're being abused, but you're sitting down there.
Well, again, if you acknowledging that propaganda as real, that there's thousands of African, why he only have 49 people, 49 families?
Here's the point. Here's the point I'm making. Trump is going to believe what he wants to believe. They told him about 10,000 times. It's not true. He don't want to listen. The man was in front of his face telling him, so if you want to go, you can go. I'm not promoting any propaganda because the man ain't gonna listen to him anyway. So let them go. Help them leave the country. I don't. Is that about propaganda or not? They don't want to.
No. See, the thing is, people can move about freely as they choose, right? Why would the government have to help them go? If they want to go, they can just go to America. But it ain't no genocide to where a government needs to be helping and assisting them with something.
I agree with you. But if they want to go, I would gladly help them get out of my country because I don't want them there to begin with. So I would help them go. It doesn't matter genocide or not. You don't want to be here because you perceive that this is a bad place to be. So go. So have a nice day. I didn't force you to go, but I can help you get out of my country because I don't want you there anyway. It's not about whether it's true or not. You feeling abused. You're promoting that idea. So you shouldn't be here anyway. You shouldn't be here if you don't want to be here. And when you go, don't come back. That's my point. How could you tell me you're being abused? But as you said, only 50 of you want to go. So I'm not promoting any propaganda. We know it's not true. We know that for sure. But if you want to leave, then go ahead and leave. I can help you leave. It doesn't mean I'm admitting that I abuse you. We know they're not being abused because according to what we're hearing, they're buying back land from people that they shouldn't be buying back land from. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
I mean, I don't know. That's just your point of view. I can't say you incorrect in your point of view. Peace Haley, if I said the name right. Holly, you gotta come off mute.
Bless up, bless up. So my first time coming on, but now you see that I'm a man, yes? Last time when I made a comment, you said a woman because of my name. I get it.
Oh, you know why? I misread the name Marianne, thinking like, yeah, that was.
Well,
I
actually,
never
I'm doing
seen
a
your
breakdown
effigy,
on my
so.
name as we speak. It's a long breakdown, but yeah, it's a long breakdown. I got a long history about all of this stuff.
Well,
I was
peace.
listening
Thanks
to you
for
one time.
coming
I forget
on.
what it's about because my mind goes off sometimes. But I'm going to say that listening to what people are saying, like that brother Abraham Torre, I would say his resurrection of General Sankara, yeah, that brother there. When we look at history and what this brother's doing right now, we should understand his whole goal is like even right now. Let me see. Let me put this out. Even right now, he is How can I say? He's bringing back ancient traditions. He told a story, but the other day I heard him talk about the other day when his young, his grandmother tell him, look, don't forget the pyramids. Don't forget the pyramids. Yes. So his even started right now because he's talking like his revamped the whole country around. So he's brought in tomato plants, he's bringing farm equipment, he's paving the roads, he's making sure that no gold is going out of the country, all the gold is being utilized for his people. Yeah, everything he's doing is definitely above board. They tried like over 20 times trying to kill him. He's dealing with the Russians and the Chinese because they're dealing with partnerships. They're not dealing with ownerships. Yeah. Now, this guy, General Langley, on the other day, I saw this myself when he came on and telling, when they asked him about what's going over there, he's in charge of AFRICOM, yeah? And they said to him, so, oh, what's going on over there? He said, oh, God, he's taking the money, the girl, and is using it for his own protection. But I'm saying, well, they'll try to kill him 20 times already. So why not use the money that is utilized? The people don't mind. The people, look, they have people standing outside his palace at all times, just common people. They sleep outside his palace all day, all night, just to make sure that nobody could do anything to this guy. Yeah? Just the other day, there was an attack on one of the outskirts of one of the villages where they attacked, said they just came in and they blew up the police, these schools, the hospital, yeah, and then left, just to create instability. So it's not just the French, it's the Americans too. Because they all do the same thing, they all work hand in hand, Jamal. This is something we should have to understand. It's not just the one people. It's the European mentality itself. I keep saying this thing here, because they keep saying the same thing. There's 52 people that decided to leave South Africa and go over there. It was just for the propaganda move, because like even the South Africans themselves are saying, and even like President Ramaphosa said, even though he's a sketchy guy himself, but he said his agriculture minister that was with him in the Oval Office saying, well, if there was what was happening that you're saying is true, then this man wouldn't even be here with me. Yeah. So he's part of the government. So yeah, that's a problem with what people are saying. So we have to be very careful of all of this here. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So, yeah,
it seems like Trump wasn't even trying to address any type of truth. He's just going to roll with his white genocide theory, even though it's been falsified and it just ain't true, in order to do what he wants to do.
Well, Trump lies straight up, but the information that he was even sharing had nothing to do with anything what he was talking about, because he was sharing information that was happening in Congo that happened some time ago, right? And it was not happening there. And then all these crosses that was set up for two white people that had been killed, but not by that. You see, even the information that is being fact-checked right in his face, that it says, well, of all the people that's killed in South Africa, right? And it was 7 people killed on farms, but they didn't say what they were as far as race. You understand? So even the information that is put out in fact checkers' face, he's not accepting simply because why bother? He lies, straight up. But all those Europeans is lying. That I'm saying when they say Europeans, I'm talking about the ones that consider them white. So because white is a very interesting term and he call himself that. But anyhow, the people that is bringing these white people in and saying they're being oppressed, they don't have a leg to stand on, but yet they are going to keep saying it because that's what they do. They just keep repeating lie after lie after lie. But yeah, if you want to see some things, check out that guy. His name I'm always gonna forget. Warden Meyer. You know the brother Warden Meyer. He be traveling all around. He just finished doing a tour around the Caribbean or whatnot, showing people the African thing. But yeah, he's from out of Nigeria, somewhere like that there. But he was just over in Burkina Faso the other day showing what is going on over there. You know, because when this brother said he's going to do something, he does it. So he said he put out some contracts to pave the roads. When they say pave roads, we're talking about long stretches. He said, man, what they tell him, the course him to do, he bought equipment himself and trained the people of Burkina Faso to operate the equipment. So they're doing roads. Yeah, because he said he's making tomato plants, he's doing potato factories, he's growing, like I said, bringing in tractors and giving them to the people. He's made all the land to nobody earns land. The government earns all the land, but it's giving it out to the people to farm. Yeah, he's even made women, empowered women so that women made up women groups so that they are in charge of things. So doing some very progressive things. He's not doing anything bad. But the first time you put the brother on talking about his shifty eyes and whatnot, I had to smile when I saw, because that is not the guy. President Traore doesn't do that type of style. And when you see him, he's always dressed in military stuff. He's a captain. He became president to work for the people. But when he was going to give up the presidency, when he thought people said, hell no, you're going to stay in the position. But he only gets paid his captain's salary. He took all his government ministers, he made them drop 30% off of the salary and gave it to the people underneath them so that they have a better salary. Everything he's doing in this country is very progressive and is pan-African to the core. When the Saudi Arabians was talking about, I'll give you 200 mosques or whatever mosque they was talking about presenting them, he said, nah, man, I don't want no mosque. I need infrastructure. I need schools, hospitals, and whatnot. I don't need no mosque over here. You're right. So everything that the brother's doing is straight up, like you said. He said, making people. When they say making people, he said, look, we're going to institute national dress. We're not going for this European stuff no more. Yeah. So everything is doing is pan-Africanist to the core. What scares them so much, because like the Sahel, which is Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, right? These brothers is saying to heck with France and to heck with Western stuff. So that actually is growing now. So other people is taking up the mantle as well. Other leaders following his line. That's what Arab is afraid of, because it's encouraging other people to get with the program of pan-Africanism. So he's trying to create one currency. Yeah, so there's one currency between those three countries, that the Sahel province that I just named. So even with Ivory Coast, that just had this thing the other day, people they was trying to lock people up before in Ivory Coast, but the people rise up now. And brother, just the president over there just stepped down and said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just leave this alone. So yeah, he's causing some big things to happen in all across Africa, down in Botswana, in Namibia, all over. So yeah, so it's a big thing what people are dealing with over there, right? But we must have to understand these things, that people are going to throw some propaganda. Look, even when you talk about where the information's come from, brothers in doing African podcasts, they have been shut down because they're giving out the information. Yeah, I forget the name of the thing, but I was because I've been checking this for a little while, right? Brothers, they are shutting down African podcasts so that the information doesn't get out. That's how serious the issue is, and that's how serious people are being. So he said he kicked all the Europeans. Said, I don't want no Europeans over here doing what they're doing. if they're not doing things the way that I want it done. Yeah. So even in Ghana, the same thing happened. He said, refining the Ghanaian gold because before they used to ship it out, but now they ship it over there and it ships it back to them. So all the holdings that are now are going out through the government, not through some company coming in and coming through the back door and raping the countries. So yeah, Captain Ibrahim Touré, yeah, don't forget that name. It's very serious. Like Thomas Sankara, like Patrice Lumumba, and so many others that have been killed. And but same because remember, they killed Martin, they killed Malcolm, yeah, and they discredit other things. Even the information that our elders have written in the school books, they don't put none of that information out in any schools, not even HSBCUs. So even HSBCUs, I'm going to take Howard as an instance, they don't promote blackness at all. Unfortunately, they really don't. Yeah, you can even check Dr. Craig Carr and ask him about such things, and he be teaching over there. So yeah, it's a very serious thing when it comes to blackness in the world, you know. When you're talking about that intellectual penmanship of people like Bobby Banger and such names. I was just thinking, when's the last time we heard about Brother Garfield?
You know, I haven't even checked in. I unsubscribed a while ago, but sometimes I go just look at Cat's pages. I haven't looked in a while.
I haven't come across his page. I haven't come across. Usually stuff just comes across, but his name hasn't come up for quite some time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's the intellectual dishonesty that we're dealing with. Because when you say, why would they call themselves black? Why not? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just distinguished. That for me, that's as you, because I've been using a lot of information, I must admit, because like I said, yeah, I'm great inspiration. I've been doing this work for a few years. Yeah. But you are a great inspiration because a lot of information that I get now really coincides with what I've been trying to do. So you have fed me a big meal. And I very much appreciate that. Even just today, I'm debating with some people about the information that I'm getting back. Like they talked about the different cultures that they said spread throughout the Nile Valley. But the information that you gave us said, no, this was just, it was by the racist Egyptologists, grave robbers, I call them, right? Mm-hmm. That was talking about all these differences between the people when they were just differences of time and eras about the same people doing different things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So people told me, oh, well, what about that difference? I said, no, man, you got to go look at because that was like I said, the grave robbing Egyptologists, but the modern day honest scholars is giving out the true information about who these people are, that they were not different people. They were just different eras of the same people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, breaking down different things. So yeah, so that's why I said I must have to give you props for that there. But yeah, study this brother Ibrahim Touré. Yeah, because he's bringing back the ancestors, the freedom fighters, and doing for the people themselves. Because up until that time, 2 years ago, Burkina Faso, they're the fourth biggest gold producers in the world. Yeah, like this. But yet they was the poorest country until he came in and kicked out the French, stopped all of this rot from happening, paid off all the debts. So then the debt free now. Yeah. There's been enough hospitals, been enough training. Hospitalization is free.
I got a question. I thought they had some perpetual debt to the French or something.
That's the point. But when the colonials left, they never left. They left things under their control. So all the money, all the gold, everything had to go to them, and then they would give it back to you. Learn it back to you, basically. But he stopped all of that. He kicked all the French out. He stopped all of that there. He paid off all the debt. Yeah? So that they're debt free now. They don't have to depend upon nobody. They don't owe nobody nothing. Yeah? But he done that within 2 years. You see? By consolidating everything so that nobody is taking them, because everybody was robbing them blind. Because you come in and you do that thing, you're taking out the ore and refining the elsewhere. Right? So France, even all these Francophone, as they call them, Francophone countries, They are all the value goes into France, and they print the money, right, back and give it back. But then they hold all of that the real natural wealth, yes, and learn the money. They scamming. They learn the money back, and so they have to pay back interest on the money. Yeah. So he's done the right thing by kicking all these people out, consolidating everything under the country's control. I don't like to say his control, but like I said, when he told the people, look, okay, I'm done what I could do. They said, no, you're going to be the president because of his forward vision and his honesty. That's the whole thing, is his honesty. When you talk about how the brother wasn't looking down, and so you thought when you look down, he don't blink, but when he looks up, he blinks. That could be for some type of reason with his eyes. I don't know. It could be light in his eyes from the light that's coming at him. Could be. But I'm just saying, when Captain Torre speaks, he speaks very confidently, and he looks you straight into the eye. Yeah, and the women love him. The men love him. Everybody loves him, not for anything else except his honest, and he's doing for the people, not just his words. Because you know what they say, action speaks louder than words. And as for the brother that you just talked about, came off the pin, the pin metaphor, I love that. Me watch that brother too, you know. He has some deep breakdowns. Yeah, man.
Well,
So
I
yeah,
appreciated what he contributed. And I also want to thank you for making sure someone on this show was informed about the situation as we disseminate information. Because like I said, you know what I specialize in, and you know what I do very well. That doesn't mean that I'm limited to that topic, but that's the only one I specialize in. So when we start, I don't be wanting to shut down information, but I don't want to seem like I'm the one who know what I'm talking about that, you know. So thanks for coming on to make sure the people listening could get some well-informed information on the subject.
brother, let me tell you, I really just came off. I've been watching you a lot of times. I want to come on. I was part of the Discord, but I'm so technically challenged. I just had to step back from that because I really want to learn. I love the way you teach the Imaginata. I got into the TLA and into Vigas and all of that there through your inspiration. Yeah. So I'm very much challenged on that there, but I really am a student. And I don't like to just do halfway things. I like to be sure. So when I quote things, I read old books. Yeah. And so when I quote things, I try to quote from out of what I'm reading, not just off the top of my head. Because that's a dangerous way to go, I think. Because a lot of times you forget, or you might say the wrong thing, even though you think you're saying the right thing. You know what I mean? So that's why I say I appreciate you. Yeah. I really, really do. You're very good. You're a very good educator.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the good comments. I see we got a brother, Kadir, in here, probably been waiting to get a word in.
But thanks for bringing me on. Like I said, I just need to get out that information about Captain Ibrahim Traoré, because he's a pan-African to the core.
Word up. I've been just seeing what's been going on, but I'm glad you contributed. Yeah.
Bless our family. Make much love. I'll be back, but like I said, I'm trying to get nerve, but still, you know, time is everything.
Yeah, I know it's hard sometimes, but yeah, thanks for contributing when you had the time.
Yeah, man. One love.
All right, that's what's up.
Hi,
Kadir, what's up?
Nothing much. Yeah, I've been watching you for like, I don't know, some months, actually quite a few months. Really love these live streams. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts on South Africa, just some like additional information, and as well as the AES, like Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, and so with South Africa, I think the big reason why like Donald Trump is doing any of this is because of South Africa going after Israel in the ICJ. So I think it was the ICC actually, but so they were going after them, and that really pissed off Israel a lot. Like they were talking about this It was annoying them. It was making them look bad. It was a lot of real, because I mean they already looked bad, but this was kind of legitimizing the criticisms of
So
Israel,
basically,
and like
they
the
filed
sort of
claims against Israel for genocide, correct?
exactly with the ICC, exactly, like formally, and that kind of made it legitimate, which they really didn't like. And now you have Donald Trump, who's effectively doing like the bidding of damn near doing the bidding of Netanyahu, like across the board, who calls Ramaphosa. First of all, I think they remove like aid that South Africa has like been receiving from the United States for a very long time, which kind of like shook things up. It's kind of bad publicity, and so Ramaphosa wants to kind of go and smooth things out. Trump tells him, "Hey, I want you to come over to the White House," and Ramaphosa is sitting there, and Donald Trump is just trying to humiliate this guy. Right now, personally, I think Ramaphosa is a very corrupt leader. Just historically, I think he's a deeply corrupt leader, along with the rest of the ANC. But Donald Trump was trying to humiliate him and was trying to legitimize like these genocide claims. But he had no evidence. He actually didn't even provide any evidence. There's no statistical data to support anything he was saying at all. The clips that he edited together with Julius Malema, this is kind of Julius Malema attempting to rabble rouse, right? The guy wants to get attention because he's like in a minority party, and he wants to kind of pull in more radical people in the country to supporting him. Donald Trump, I don't even think believes that there's a genocide. I don't even think he believes it. I don't think it matters to him, even if there were. He just wants to try and remove like attention from like the genocide that the United States is literally supporting in the Levant, right? And also potentially find grounds to dismiss the ICC case, the ICJ case, I suppose, against Israel that was put out by South Africa. So it's like, oh, you're doing a genocide, so this is grounds to dismiss your case for genocide against the Israelis. I think that's a big part of it. In fact, I think that's probably the reason why he's doing it. He might have even been like told to do it by like the Israel lobby in DC, because that and maybe Elon Musk, like whispering stuff in his ear too.
Well, it's part of, and thanks for that contribution. It seems like it's part of a grander theory that they've been pushing, some of this white nationalism theory called the white replacement theory. And under that, we got these pseudo claims of genocide that is us, that, it's coming from a particular, like the Steve Bannon type of dudes or whatever his name is. They got this whole white replacement theory that goes way back, but now they're trying to give pseudo evidence of it.
Yeah, exactly. And really, I mean, the people, these Boers in South Africa, they're so, I mean, the apartheid era was the equivalent of Jim Crow. They called themselves Europeans. They never called themselves, Afrikaners. That was like more recent. They just called themselves Europeans. Like 30 years ago, they were calling themselves Europeans. And they had literally a Jim Crow system 30 years ago. Like most of the people, like right now in South Africa, lived through that and experienced that. So these white people that they're attempting to bring to the United States, they're the equivalent of like Jim Crow era white Americans. It's completely insane. These people are like, they're crazy. They're crazy. They're very, a lot of these people are very, very deeply racist. And these black South Africans are far more tolerant. Like they're very tolerant, which is like not good. It's really bad. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, honestly, that disturbs me. Like in terms of like the level of tolerance some of these people have for like this pathological behavior from these Boers. I can understand why there would even be a song like that, because they really, I mean, there's like when I studied the history of South Africa, like it gave me a lot of insight into like how white supremacy functions, that, and also Zimbabwe when it was Rhodesia. Like they don't want black people to run anything at all. Like that's actually one of their primary concerns. All of these people that are kind of in this
Real quick, your mic got low. Not to interrupt.
empire.
You said they don't want black people running those places.
Yeah, running anything,
Okay,
running any system. Yeah. So I have this little I have this newspaper, this little piece of it's like an entry by this guy named Lord Randolph Churchill, and he's talking about the Boers. I'm not sure if anyone's seen this.
But that's crazy what I'm listening to.
What was that?
Haley, was that comment for us?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Because I'm listening to his brother. I don't know
piece.
who his brother is, but his distracting a lot, because when you look at the ANC, we're talking about the party of what who's the guy that got free? I mean, Mandela. Yeah. Mandela and Winnie Mandela, man. This was ANC people then. But even when we're looking at the brother that you just talked about, that conversation is really a bit distracted, because he's talking about looking at South Africa and Botswana. Look at America. America is the model for all of that. America was the model for the Germans. America is the model for everybody when it comes to racism.
Real quick, before you respond, Kadir, I want to know, what exactly are you refuting? What made you say that's crazy or whatever?
Because one thing, like his whose name I forget, the Malema, Malema, that brother there is the first brother. That when you talk about this new generation of the Boers, they call it Boers because they're French people. That the Dutch. I just remember what you're talking about before, about the Boers, about this the Dutch people, the people that just went over to there. In South Africa today, there's a town that is only white people allowed there. Yeah. So he's just talking about how Malema is this. Malema comes from the era right before then. His well, maybe my age or maybe a little bit younger, but Malema come about from a time when it was very serious, So just that whole soliloquy that is doing right now, I find it disturbing, because it's not really giving the honest truth about what's going on in South Africa and these other countries. Right?
Well, I don't understand, but I still don't understand, like, what is the issue specifically?
Even when you get to Namibia, he was just talking about, Namibia is a place where the late female president just got elected. Just trying to kick the Germans out too. That's the one who told it that all Americans get out, and if you want to come back, you're going to have to get a visa. Yeah. So I'm just saying is that when you want to look at racism, don't look at Africa. Don't look in Africa. Look at America. Look at France. Look at Europe, because everything.
Oh, I just completely disagree. Like there's something to learn from everywhere. I think you need to keep an open mind about everything. And so
my mind is not closed at all. Right? I'm 65, and
well, he's just making a quick statement and trying to make his point. Let him finish his point, and then, if you don't mind, because it's a better discourse that way.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'm saying. So by the way, first of all, I've also studied African American history, and this is just like the whole past. This whole country, its founding and everything is just villainous. Like it's completely insane, and like kind of it's almost like deranged. Like just the whole founding of the country and everything leading up to this point. So I'm not denying that, like, the United States, the foundations are just like evil, because it's very sick. It's very sick. But what I am saying is that, like, these two things are not mutually exclusive, right? You can have something that is horrible in South Africa, horrible with Zimbabwe, formerly called Rhodesia, but before that also Zimbabwe. And then also still have something that is very villainous in the United States, but they don't necessarily all work the same way, right? There are variations in, like, the way they operate, because they're not all the same circumstances. For example, African Americans are a minority in the United States, right? Whereas in South Africa, you have a majority population of Black people, right? So they're not going to necessarily deal with Black people in the exact same way. It's going to be a bit different, but there's going to be a lot of similarities. The reason why I say that South Africa is so egregious, and it's very sad, like the African Americans, I at least from generally from what I see in the United States, African Americans don't really tolerate very much disrespect, in the racial sense, like at all. But the level of tolerance I see amongst South Africans, from just what I've seen at least, is disturbing. It's disturbing. And I think the reason for that is because these people, they were not brought there, right? So you had people who come there and they effectively turned South Africa into like a slave colony. They exterminated the San people. They issued hunting permits for these people. Like there's a record of this. I have a book that has like the records of this. They had hunting permits for the San. They define them. They categorize them as fauna, the equivalent of like a deer, like an antelope or something, and they issued hunting permits to go and hunt them. I mean, these people, like, they destroy. Imagine you're living under the rule of people like this. These are like completely morally corrupted human beings, completely. And when I read this shit, I like the history of the United States is so fucked up. It's so fucked up. But like, I have never seen anything like that in any record anywhere, where like you issue hunting permits for people. I never read about anything like that anywhere. Like under the worst circumstances. Genghis Khan didn't do that shit, man. He recognized the humanity of his opponents. These people made people literally animals. And now imagine those same people still run you. What does that do to your psyche? That breaks people. That destroys people. That erodes the psychology and the spirit of an entire race of people. That's what you see with South Africa. You cannot like live underneath people like this and have any kind of self-respect. So when I look at the South Africans, I see like what is effectively damn near like a stone's throw away from a slave colony. Currently, 75% of the land is owned by the white people. They're a combination of Dutch and British now, because the Dutch were imbeciles and they couldn't even maintain their colony, and so the British had to come in to prevent the black people from taking over, because the black people were just naturally like they were put in charge of everything because the Dutch were lazy, right? And there's actually this little excerpt of like a newspaper that I want to read. It was written by Lord Randolph Churchill when he went to South Africa to take like account of everything, and it's really like a scathing. This guy's British. He's white British, and he's writing about the Boers, and he writes, quote, "The Boer farmer personifies useless idleness, occupying a farm from 6,000 to 10,000 acres. He contents himself with raising a few hundred head of cattle, which are left almost entirely to the natives whom he employs. It may be asserted generally with truth that he never plants a tree, never digs a well, never makes a road, never grows a blade of corn. Rough and ready cultivation of the soil for mealies by the natives he to some extent permits, but agriculture and agriculturists he holds alike in great contempt. He passes his day doing absolutely nothing beyond smoking and drinking coffee. He's perfectly uneducated, with the exception of the Bible, every word of which in its most literal interpretation he believes with the most fanatical credulity. He never opens a book, he never reads a newspaper, his simple ignorance is unfathomable, and in this sublime composure he shares with his wife, his sons, and his daughters, being proud that his children should grow up as ignorant, as uncultivated, as hopelessly unprogressive as himself. In the wintertime he moves with his herd of cattle into the better pastures and milder climate of the low country belt, and lives as idly and uselessly in his wagon as he does in his farmhouse. The summer sees him returning home, and so on, year after year, generation after generation, the Boer farmer drags out the most degraded and ignoble existence ever experienced by a race with any pretensions to civilization. I have, I must admit, met some persons in government circles and elsewhere of Boer or Dutch birth who are entirely excluded from the scope of these remarks, whose manners were polite and who were anxious to show kindness and hospitality, and whose conversation was distinguished by original ideas and liberal sentiments. These, however, are but bright exceptions. I speak of the nation as a whole, as I think I have seen it. I turn my back gladly on these people, hastening northwards to land possessing, I hope, equal wealth and brighter prospects reserved for more worthy possessors. And after all, I've seen in this Transvaal that the country and the people of the Matabele and the Mashona have been rescued in the nick of time owing to the genius of Mr. Rhodes and the tardy vigor of the British government from the withering and mortal grasp of the Boer. In order to, and so this is really why he's pissed off, is because they are poor excuses for white people. They are imbeciles and they are pathetic and decadent and corrupt and they're lazy, right? And so these British guys had to come in and take over the system before the black people took over the system from them. And now the British run things. It is a really great example of white supremacy because if you read deeply enough, you can see them passing these systems between one another or taking and seizing them from one another when the other is becoming weak. If you look at apartheid, the end of apartheid, they before the apartheid system could end, they could not have any nukes. The South African government, they had nukes before the end of the apartheid era. Why? Because they didn't want any black people to have any control of any nukes. This is how they move. You can see this consistently. This is how they move. They support each other if one group becomes decadent and fucked up because they don't want the black people to take anything over. They don't want black people to have any power. But you have to read a lot to realize that this is exactly what they do. These governments, they're very deliberate, very deliberate, extremely deliberate.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Good breakdown. Before you
Peace,
James,
Smash.
before you
Peace,
get your
everybody.
build in, James, I want to see if Haley still wanted to respond or not.
Yes, please, I do.
Okay,
Because
then we're gonna hear from James after you.
the European that we just used just now, it could go to what he just said because first of all, I was going to tell you about.
Hold on. I'm trying to keep up with the argument. Did you just label what Kadir said a pen?
Yes.
Okay, so keep going.
So why did I do that? Because remember we was talking. You were asking about the Boers not the Boers, the Dutch. We talk about the Dutch taking over the world. You showed something. You talk, but when you was trying to break it down, but the people going into South Africa and all of that there, right? You remember that there?
You talking about me?
Yes.
When I showed that about the Dutch, the Dutch Indian company.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Just real quick, James. I need to make you the host for a moment. If you can hold it down for me and keep the show rocking how it is, and because my daughter calling me to the other room. But yeah, I do remember that. I can still hear y'all. I'm just going on mute. Keep going.
Okay, good. So I'm going to talk about what I was talking about. So when you open up that thing about that there, you would see VOC. I tell you, I wrote a paper about that there. The paper was concerning my island home of Bermuda. Yeah, because it had to do with all these. It had to do with the start of the slave trade, literally. Yeah, how the world was divided by the Pope between the Spanish and the Portuguese. Yeah, in the Bermuda, there's a rock called Spanish Rock. It used to be called Spanish Rock. They renamed it to Portuguese Rock now because of this same division of the world by the Pope. But the VOC, right, which is a Dutch company, their organization, and they went around the world changing a lot of things as far as map making and all of that there. Yeah. When we look at VOC, that company is the model upon which all companies of the world is based upon. Yeah, they based the model on that company. So when we're talking about the Dutch being invaded in South Africa, being invaded by the British, Churchill didn't go down there to do anything except what he did say to take over. So that was fighting. This goes back to even before them because the English and the Dutch had already been fighting. And because they was all fighting for power. They was all fighting for control over Black resources wherever they found them. Yeah. So the Boers, which means farmer in Dutch, And that's who there's people that's going over there now. The Boers were not lazy exclusively. The British was just as lazy, because in my country, the island of Bermuda where I was born, the same Davos was doing the same thing. They were British. There was no Dutch down there. They weren't farming anything. They were lazy, right? Wherever they go, even in America, they're lazy. Yeah, that's why they bring black people in to do whatever they're going to do. But that whole soliloquy that brother was talking about, like, no, man, he's doing a new number. I don't like what he was saying, simply because he was not bringing out the truth about the struggles that black people have had all throughout, ever since the white people came in there. And we're going back not to the slave trade, the slave trade. We're going back years and years and years before that even. Yeah, because remember, when these people get down there, the Portuguese came around there first. And that's to say it around and up and down. But when we're looking at history, we can't isolate it from what was going on. So you can't just speak about that in isolation. There's a paper that I try to get out to people. It's called Frontier Genocide, yeah? And it talks about three people at three different times. When I say three people, in America, the UK of America, the Tasmanian of Tasmania, and the Herero of Namibia. Three different times, three different types of people went in and done the exact same thing, right? Terrorized them, took over, and controlled them today. When the brother was talking just now about flora and fauna, that they say the Africans were just named it. Look, in Australia, the same thing happened. I wasn't up into the 70s that they became recognized as people. Yeah. So when we're talking about this here, the white people, wherever they go, they do the same thing to the people of the indigenous countries. And they don't have to be from the same, white people from the same country, right? The Germans was in Namibia. The Dutch and the Germans and the British was over in Australia, right? But when we look at even today at what's happening in what they call New Zealand, with the Maoris up in there, we have the same thing. Yeah, with the people talking about, oh, you came in and you done some treaties and now you want to take over, and we're not having that. So the lady got up and done a haka, the youngest parliamentary that got. They got up and done a haka to say, hey, and I trace that word back into Africa again, because special with Noah, brother who's this? I'm talking about Brother James. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Right. You know about haka?
Yeah, that's a Kemetic word that was used back in the day, right? You talking about, because you have a accent, we would call it, what would we call it? Like, this kind of sounds similar, haka, like it's like to speak or something like that, right?
It deals with that, but it's also the staff, the shepherd staff of power. Of that the king, you see Asa holding it in his arms,
the crook and the flail.
Yes, but the crook, that's the haka, symbol of authority. But it's also the words of power, because they say haka is magic words. Okay. So when this lady got up in the parliament in New Zealand the other day and done her haka, words of power. Yes. You know, the people that got down on the floor was her and the gentleman, another lady that been banned from out of the parliament for a period of time. But that word goes back. That action goes back into ancient Africa. But I trace these things down. Yeah. So when I'm hearing that brother talking about how he sees that in America, you can always admit, and everybody will admit, because I just told the brother did it today, they have buried whole towns underneath rivers, underneath lakes, I'm saying. Same thing they done in Aswan, right? They have highways.
Yeah, that's a practice that they do. They bury African civilizations underwater.
And they
done. So that's just something that they do universally. It's not one European that does it. I get what you're saying, Holly. You're saying that there's no division between what the Europeans do to Africans. It's a universal practice, and it's not exclusive to the Dutch or to the British or anybody.
No, it's the reaction.
So that's not
okay. That's not necessarily. I'm just making sure. Is that what you're saying? That's what you're saying, Holly?
Yes,
but hold on. Let's see what Kadir his pushback.
No, I want to finish this last point.
One more, go ahead.
I want to finish this last point. I'm going to say about, because he mentioned about how he sees how the Africans are reacting to this small group of people coming in. Yes, because he mentioned how the Americans Black Americans is lesser in number, which is not true. Same thing was not true in Bermuda either. Yeah, not true. That's what they put out, but that's not true, because when we look at, I'm sorry.
I
want to say that I want to say this here, that in America, right, today people are being shut down. Yeah, when they say shut down, like the brother was shot in the back the other day when they accusing the father going down and mowing down the policeman. Yeah, that the retaliation, like the retaliation of us, is very minimal wherever we are, no matter what the numbers are. The same psychology is working amongst all of us. So I don't want to just limit it to just Africa. Yes,
that was a good point, because his father actions are rare. So you're definitely right as far as the retaliation of one of us being murdered in the Americas is being minimal. So okay, let's let Kadir,
go ahead.
or should Joy, let Joy speak, because Joy hadn't spoken in a minute, then Kadir, and then I'm gonna mute out. Go ahead, Joy.
I'm just wondering where Kadir's from.
Oh, like where I was born, or like
yes, where were you?
What do you mean?
Yes,
I was born in Minnesota.
Okay, are you a Black American?
No. I'm like first generation. I'm African, actually, Ethiopian.
All right. So you are Black, right? Just curious, because yes. I can't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I sound. You can't tell from my voice. I know.
Right. Now, I would agree with what you're saying is true, but it's not something unique. That is a playbook that they use all the time. They've done that throughout, because it's the same people colonizing everywhere. So the first thing they do is take away your language and your culture. And who are the keepers of the culture? The indigenous people. So they put these people in all type of schools, try to Europeanize them, bury them under schools, all kinds of things. We see that. You have some of them, like Tupac Amaru, who fought back and was beheaded. So now he is a symbol of freedom throughout. And they had a whole group named that, who took some Japanese people hostage, and that's what Tupac is named after. So people have to understand the culture and different things of that sort. Yeah, they take out the elders and do this thing, so that is nothing new. That's definitely not anything new. You understand? But as far as saying that we are the minority in America, I'm not too sure about that, huh? I don't believe that. So what do you think? Is there any statistics to back that up? Or is that just propaganda? Because I don't think that we're a minority in America.
Is that propaganda? I mean, I'm just going off of like available data, and then that. Like,
hold on. What America? Now hold on. We got to make sure we all on the same page, because we got somebody from Trinidad and Tobago. We got a brother from Bahamas. I forget where Holly's from, but we're international right now. Is what I'm saying. Brother,
I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, James. I live here. I'm from America.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying. I'm listening to your voice, and it sounds like you from Trinidad and Tobago. I know you was born in America, but your accent seemingly makes us believe. But I'm in America right now, and Smash is in America, and Kadir's in America, and we kind of sound a little different. So what I'm saying is we got language barriers that I'm trying to make sure that we understand what we're all on the same page, because we're kind of on a global topic as far as this America thing. Are we talking about the United States of America? Or are we talking about the Americas as a whole? What are we talking about?
I'm speaking about the United States of America. I don't think that we as Black Americans are a minority, statistically speaking. I don't believe that. That can't make sense.
So but real quick, when we what you're doing is just based on saying, I don't believe that.
No, let me tell you what the term America, the minority, where it comes from, literally. Yeah? The term minority comes from emancipation. You understand that? Emancipation is a certain word, because I had to break all of this down. Like I said, I had to write about all of this here, yeah? So when I'm doing my research and I looked at the term emancipation, it deals with minority and majority. What do I mean? It's a legal term. Mm-hmm. So when you emancipate somebody, the emancipation goes from the adult, who's considered the majority, to the child who is considered the minority. Yes, and that's how we've always been looked at.
Okay, that's
yes?
fine, but let me ask a question. Does that mean it's different than the mathematical term that preceded
Yes,
it?
I'm trying to tell you, yes.
So you're saying, so let me just finish the question. So
I'm
you're
sorry.
saying a legal majority can be a mathematical minority?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because the majority simply means the white people who was considered the majority is now no longer responsible to house, clothe, and feed the minority who they call black people. Because in Bermuda, we have never been a minority. Yeah, we've always been majority, even though, because we breed faster, yes? Remember, in America, they was using black people for breeding.
Let me ask a question. In Bermuda, the black people are called minorities?
Yes. Yes, that's what we consider as minorities. And you have to reach the age of majority. You know, you have to reach the age of majority in order to vote at one point in time. But remember, but in Bermuda, we couldn't do that there until after segregation, which happened just before I was born. So that even when they changed things, even though when they changed the laws of Bermuda, because Bermuda and America came from the same company. There's so much that before the West Indian Company, all of it British. Yeah, so the West Indian Company, right? Bermuda was called the Sandwich Isles as a division, and America was the same. So, but in 1776, when they all separated, when the Americans won their freedom, and black people helped them fight for that deal. Some fought for the British, some fought for the English. I mean, fought for the American side. Yeah, the whole thing is that we are all the same when it comes to white people. No matter where we are, they use the same terms: emancipation in America, emancipation in the West Indies, falsely named, yeah, and emancipation in the Bermuda. They were all paid. All these white people was all paid, right, for giving up their slaves. But
so
what happened?
So by the way, what I said earlier does not contradict anything that you're saying. If I can actually address what you said earlier.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
What you said was that you were making the claim that I said that we're just different completely and we have like relatively little in common. That's actually not what I said initially.
I never said that.
Isn't that the whole thing? The whole thing you were saying is that I was making the claim that we didn't actually necessarily have the same experiences, that we weren't actually treated the same way, right?
No. What I was saying is that you was talking about South Africa and the way that they were so docile. For me, that's what you're saying. In the sense that
not were. What I'm saying, first of all, I'm not saying they are all docile. I was saying that I'm noticing a behavioral pattern, at least in the videos that I see. Mind you, EFF, Malema, this is not like a majority party. This is the point that I'm making. It's a minority party. So that kind of fervor, that kind of view is not popular. It's not popular necessarily amongst the black population. This isn't always the case, but what I'm saying is that this is the case right now. And so to address the point that you made earlier, what I was saying initially was that, first of all, what I said was that we all experience pretty much the same thing because their strategy, right? The European strategy is pretty much the same, like fundamentally, right? But there are variations in the application depending on the context, okay? With regard to African Americans were brought from Africa as like an enslaved population to the Americas, North America and South America. They're not dealing with a population that is a majority population of black people. So they're not going to deal with them in the exact same way. Now, will there be many, many overlaps? For example, of course, like you look at the 3/5 compromise, right? You're 3/5 of a human being. That kind of thing is very consistent, right?
Hold on. Let me ask you something about what you just said, the 3/5 thing. What do you understand about that?
It legalized the view of enslaved Africans as 3/5 of a human being, 2/5.
It did not. It did not.
That's not true, Kadir.
It did not.
Is that not true?
It did not. No,
it's not.
Really?
All that did was for white voters. Because when you keep saying that there was a majority of Africans in America, especially white people, that is totally untrue. It's always been untrue. The white people have always been a minority wherever they have been.
You have to provide some kind of evidence to support that. Because
hold on, slow down. This is getting interesting.
It is getting interesting. But here's the thing. What you saying, Haley, I understand what you told me linguistically, that majority and minority means something different, but that doesn't reflect what we call a minority and a majority in the U.S. Census, which simply calculates an amount of how many people is in each group. So if when they count those numbers that they saying that our numbers are less, then that would constitute a minority.
Well, you know what? It wouldn't, because we got to remember who's doing counting. Always remember who's doing counting.
What did you say?
And if I have to go back to
find my book, I didn't understand what you said. You said it's him who is counting? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Okay, I just didn't understand. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
But just real quick, I'm with you. Let's follow your logic that it's him who is counting, so that affects something. Even when they do the count, so you saying they just giving you fake numbers is your argument? Yes. Okay. So
now hold on, Smash. Let's do this. I'm 56, right? Now, what I will say is, when I was young, and maybe it was just segregation, the reason why I was looking like this, but it looked like it was a lot of us back then. How about you? Man, I'm just saying though.
I'm gonna tell y'all
if you look at an old Too Short video, people wasn't standing out everywhere.
See, there you go.
I'm just saying.
You're looking at video of urban American and Black communities. I know I'm not the only one. You can ask any truck driver or anybody who traveled America, bruh. My evidence from my eyes of going through every single state in this country, every single one, is that we are a minority. I done been so many places where I can't find a Black person.
No, and that's by design.
I would say that today, but I was talking about back in the day. It
I understand
like
that being
about
design
that happened, but I was just saying, like, back in the day, it did seem like it was a lot of us, and then it wasn't many Hispanics at the time. And it was more of us than Hispanics. Am I making that up, or you know what I mean?
No, you're not making it up. You're not making it up, James. But I'm going to ask you something. Have you all read the book by J. Rogers? It's called From Superman to Man.
I haven't.
Well, that's a good book to get and read, because it gives you some statistics in there that will blow your mind about what's really going on.
That's probably cool, but I'm pretty sure that if he could write in this day and age, he'd probably have more information to provide. You know what I'm saying?
J. Rogers was around the time of the Harlem Renaissance. He wrote a lot of excellent books that we really need to get and read. Mm-hmm. You know, I first bought these books back in '76 when I first left school, even though it didn't do me no good, because I was very ignorant to what I bought and what I had. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying the numbers that they always give us, because, like I said, you can't forget that the majority of white people in America was always on the minority level. And I'm trying to remember, because it was a book that I had, and it spoke about the very same thing. That's why they was talking about the low birth rate.
Like, I'm not necessarily refuting what you're saying. I'm simply saying I do have experience that don't seem like I could testify to what you're saying. Like, I've been in straight states that don't even got a Black person. Or I couldn't accost them while I was in that state. There was no Black community to go to. Now
wow.
Yeah, or just tell me like where the Black community is in Wyoming.
But remember, Smash, we're not only talking about sundown towns, we're talking about sundown states.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
You understand? This out, Smash. Hold on, let me say one thing.
Yeah.
We gotta understand that, like, if you split America right down the middle, the west side, the western side of this country is a desert. And it's only 20% of the population. And from west of Texas, it's only 20%. 80% of America lives from the middle of Texas all the way to the East Coast.
So think about this. When any city, let's just be real. In any city, we know we got to go to the black community, right?
Correct.
Well, that's where black people is at. So it's only some cities where the majority of the city is all black. So like in Oakland, it used to be like 75%. It seemed like right now it's probably down to like 40%. And some people can say less.
Where did all those black people go? I heard
they still exist. So if we talking about majority and minority, they just got moved around.
Exactly.
But my point still stands that when you're in a city, you go to the black community, it's not really more than 20% of the city, yo.
So
unless you're in a city that's all black.
But those people are packed in. You must remember that too.
I'm just talking about the average. Let's just say LA. How about LA? LA 50% black?
I wish somebody from LA will pop up on here from the 60s. What brother flag at? We need brother flag on the scene.
Well, we all got a hometown. So let's deal with our hometowns. When I was younger, Oakland used to seem like it was at least over 50% black.
Now hold on, Smash. I'm in the South.
Somebody need to mute out, I think. They talking about something else in the background. Go ahead,
Haley, mute out, Haley. Go ahead. I'm in the South. I'm in Texas. Now I'm from Fort Worth. It seemed like when I was there, and I was born in '69. It seemed like when I was coming up, the North Side, the South Side, and the East Side was all African Americans, and the West Side was where all the Europeans stayed at.
Yeah, percentage wise,
they had one side of the city. I'm telling you,
100%. Like it was 100% black or 90% black.
From the north side, the east side, and the west side of Fort Worth, Texas, it was all African Americans.
Well, I'm with you because when I was young,
they had one side of town that they stayed on, which was the west side. Now it's not like that.
But we see, we're not talking about population numbers right now. We talking about people moving around. We talking about the total of all of those people because we know I moved out of Oakland. And so I'm not there to be seen no more, but I still exist.
And I moved out of Fort Worth, so you're right.
Yeah, we still here. We just not in our own communities. Exactly. So the total of all those people.
Hold on, Smash. You think what we were seeing was because we were segregated? We got to think we wasn't segregated. Me and you was born right out of segregation. So it was still segregated, but we were still living in the
exactly.
We didn't know that at the time because we was kids.
Yeah, we had to see more. Because imagine those who was born 20 years before us. That's probably why some brothers was laughing right now. Like, boy, I got to see it when it was really, really, really all black. You know what I'm saying? But that didn't mean that we was a majority at that point.
Yeah, I can see.
But you can't eyeball the size of a population. I mean, you would think if there was a cover up about like the improper census, there would be like something where they would say actually the African American population is like 80% larger than what they're saying. There'd be something.
Yeah, there would be something, and you would see that in evidence of when you travel and move around. We would all have a sense that it's a lot more black people than they're saying, but I don't got that sense.
How can you estimate by your eye millions of people? Because we're talking about a mistake on the orders of millions.
Oh, well, I would just say that naturally, even if you didn't have to give a count, you can give your natural, like when I went to Japan, I can tell you I've seen about 90% to 95% Japanese people. And naturally, we could just do these things. You're right. On a national level, you won't be able to. You have to see everybody. But we have a collection of people who experience things all over the nation. Meaning James would tell you, okay, in Fort Worth, I see about this many people. And eventually we'd say, it seems like it's more black or more less. But I agree with you, Kadir, that that's not the way you would know. Even traveling, but traveling will give you a good clue to at what exists.
Let me be honest. Hold up. Let me be honest real quick. In South Africa, they do admit that there are Europeans or a minority population, and they give you the number. So this kind of is being arbitrary because they're not lying there, are they?
No, I think Haley was on some of his Morris teachings,
right?
Separating
guys.
Well, real quick, I'm not castigating you. I'm just saying the way that you separated the meaning of majority and minority with the legal term that don't contradict the mathematical term. But you said in your instance it did. In the Bahamas, it contradicted itself. In South Africa, it doesn't, because the white people call themselves a minority, right?
I'm not denying that, but what I am saying is that even in America, you know that up until today, right, the census takers, right, has been fudging the blinking numbers over the years for real.
But not in the way that you talking about. I agree. See, they include more people into white people, but that game is already finished being done. When was the last people who got included to white people to inflate the numbers?
They even talk about the present Pope would be considered white under certain conditions.
It was Arabs and North Africans and MENA. They include them as white. If they come over here, even if you dark black and you from North Africa, they call you white to inflate the white numbers. So I'm with you on that part of it.
Exactly.
But I'm trying to say the evidence of that don't make it appear like it's more white people whenever you go outside, wherever you at. I mean, more black people.
That's why there were certain people that was kicked out of certain when they opened up after the Buffalo Soldiers opened up the West, as they call it, yeah. And then they was trying to go into Nebraska and all those places there, and they were trying to take black people over there. And then there was black. They said no, how did that? Because they were talking about no slavery over there, yeah. And they excluded black people from coming over there for quite some time. So in certain places you won't find black people because they was excluded from being over there.
Okay, so there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. There's a lot of truth to what the Mirror just said in the chat. He said the venue smash attend throughout the states can only be afforded by certain classes of people. That's not necessarily my experiences in traveling aren't limited to the venues. You know what I'm saying? It's like when we all travel. So you saying you've been on the road and you hopped out at a truck stop in some arbitrary place and it was more black people at the truck stop than other people and you wasn't in a black community. That's just not a real thing in America. Normally when you traveling, you're going to see more others unless you go into what is labeled as a black area, bro. I'm not making that up.
Exactly. That's true. But that's what I said. But these are artificial things done by census takers who is excluded.
No, that's a reality. That's not artificial, not to cut you off. You tried to say that your experience at pulling up at a truck stop and seeing majority white people and others, maybe now you see a lot of Arabs too, and you see some black people, but you see like 4 brothers and 30 white people.
Yes. Man,
that's not manufactured.
No, I understand that. What I'm talking about is that, like I said, a lot of things is manufactured, although we have to go and look at how it's been manufactured. That's what I'm saying, blood. You understand what I'm saying? So we can't just go by what we see, so to speak.
Hold up, Haley. I agree that we have to be cautious of anything the Europeans say. Let's just agree right there. We have to be cautious, but what you're saying, you're gonna have to come up with some real primaries around here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got
we just not really finna just go with some. Like, you got to come up with something. You got to come back with some facts or something for us to really roll with you.
Because we just can't just up and say that that's a scam for no reason.
I'm going to tell you this here, brothers. Right now, I am not even home. You what I mean by not home? I am not even in Bermuda. I'm in England right now. Yeah. Half my library is back in Bermuda. I brought some of my books with me, but half my library is back in Bermuda. I brought some of my J. Rogers books with me, but I didn't bring all of my regret. I didn't bring the from Superman to Man one, because that's a very excellent book there, because it gives you some certain numbers, certain breakdowns of certain numbers.
You don't even need the book. You just told us you in England. So hold up, when you looking around in England, what you be seeing?
Right now, I still where I am, I see a lot of Spanish people.
I'm with that. It's a lot of now. If we want to play the census game,
I said Spanish. You understand the term Spanish?
But are you including them as black? Because they white.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
I thought you said Spanish. My bad.
I know. You thought that. That's why I had to. That's
why you didn't say Spanish?
Not at all.
What did you say?
Spanish.
Spanish.
What is that?
You like Pakistan, that type of stuff?
Well, not so much them people. I'm talking about the people of Eastern Europe.
What is Spanish?
Yeah, you
The people
threw us
from
off.
Kurdistan, Uzbekistan.
Oh yeah, okay, just something with a stand at the end. I got you.
Eastern
Dagestan.
Eastern
we
Europe.
on point.
Eastern Europeans.
Okay,
Muslim.
I'm with that.
Muslims from Eastern European.
You're refuting yourself, bro.
I'm not refuting myself, beloved. I'm just saying that you'll not understand what I'm saying, probably, but I'm definitely not refuting myself.
Well, James asked you, well, you're in England. What do you see the majority over there? You didn't say black people.
No, all I'm saying is that where I am, literally where I am right now, where I'm living right now with my child, right, just into this area which is Spanish.
Okay.
So some majority of people, like where I go to, like how in America, you go to the store and you see a lot of not Black Americans in their stores. You see a lot of Asian people in their stores. Yeah. Same thing in my area where I am. That's who owns the store. But I see a lot of I see some Africans. They don't speak very much, but they're all Muslims, right? So they could be from anywhere from Somalia or Nigeria, or these people, or these Muslim peoples. Yes.
North Africa.
I'm not mad at you, but I just don't think. I hear your theory, Haley. But if we're going to continue without no sources, I'm not to cut you, but if we don't continue with no sources to argue that black people are a majority in the Americas, that's not even really worth it.
Have you ever heard of the Punchville? I forgot where it is. Punchville is a place called Punchville. I'm talking about the people that have been murdered and killed in mass. Which brings down the numbers. I'm just saying.
Bro, I'm with all of that, but you keep moving the goalposts because those people don't exist anymore.
Oh, I know that, so they can't be counted. I'm just talking about the depletion of populations. That's what I'm talking about.
We agree on that. We know they do that.
And then I'm also talking about the absence of the numbers as far as census taking. Yeah,
I would agree on that too, but I don't think it's as so much to say that it tipped the scale to where we're actually the majority.
About tipping the scale, I mean, I'm just talking about how even I just saw a picture of the lady who wrote the wonderful Cushites of Ethiopian, the wonderful Ethiopians, Drusilla Dungy Houston. You have read her book?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I just saw a picture of her and somebody said, oh, she looks so white. And if you look at somebody like John G. Jackson, right? Or even a person like bringing it even closer, not even closer, but the person who was ran for representative in New York. What was his name?
I'm not sure.
Clayton Powell.
That guy. That guy. You wouldn't walk down the street and say he was a black guy.
Hey, somebody said you peeing right now. Hey,
yo, I'm pinning right now, but I'm going to ask people what have they freaking well read, and I just asked you about have you read the book?
I read one of those books, but I don't see that as like I'm not accepting that to say that you're right. Like I have not read a book,
Listen, excuse me. Let me say.
Let him finish. Let him go, and then let's hear from Kadir.
I'm not asking anybody to say that I'm right because I told you before I don't like to do that. I'm doing that right now simply because I'm in my daughter's kitchen washing dishes at the time, and then it came on because of what I heard people saying, right? But I tell you before, I like to go by what I read and what I can present. And right now, I'm sort of at a bit of a handicap in presenting some things. Yes. But I am saying something that go and do the research. That's what I'm saying. I'm
with you on that. And I'm gonna end my part on it to say something more constructive. It appears that if your argument was based on globally, it would possibly be easier to agree with you that it doesn't appear that we're a global minority. But if it's limited to the U.S., it would be hard for me to just flat out agree with that without no sources. But James is hosting. I'm about to help my daughter with something real quick.
I agree. But I'm getting back silent now. But like I said, don't forget one other important person when we're talking about South Africa. That's Steve Biko. You all know about Steve Biko, correct?
Yes.
Right. So remember Steve Biko and what he was trying to do and why they killed this reporter. Because that's what he was doing. He's a reporter speaking the truth, and they killed him. And they silenced, and through that, they silenced many other people. So I just want to put that forward because we can't forget these people who have died trying to defend us in our minority status.
So, by the way, so what I was saying like much earlier, the conversation just kind of shifted. I just want to tie it up though. So like what I was saying earlier is, I'm not saying that the experiences between Black populations throughout the world has not really been similar due to like this kind of European expansion and like empire. But what I am saying is that it's not going to be 100% the same in every place because the contexts are different. So as an example, if you have a large population and you show up to that large population, whether they're Black or, by the way, even Native American, and they want that land, they exterminate them. They don't enslave them. Right? The Native Americans, in fact, the ones that they did enslave, they didn't even really survive slavery for very long. They would die quickly. And so they were just going around exterminating them. And they wanted to take all of their land, which is why
like
they
exterminated the Palestinians.
them.
You talking about like that, huh?
It's the same thing. Same thing. Exactly. It's like the same strategy. Depending on the context, they behave differently, right? They adapt. Whereas if they're dealing with, say, a population of people they've purchased as, you know, slaves, right? They're not necessarily going to exterminate a slave population, right? Why? Because they've enslaved them and they want them to work. So there's like a different purpose there. The reason why they exterminated the San people is because they wanted their land. They wanted the land they were on. And so they issued hunting permits. They dehumanized them, systematically. And then they said these people are like, you know, they're animals. They're like deer and like any other animal we like to go hunt. They still hunt just like that, by the way. They hunt the same way, except they can't hunt the San anymore. But they're almost extinct. The San, they're almost gone. And they kind of do that everywhere. But it depends on the context, right? And if you're dealing with a minority population, I'll give you another example of extermination. They did the same thing in the Congo when those Belgians. By the way, if you read about like how Belgium behaved in the Congo, like really deeply. I mean, the Belgians are some of the most twisted people I have ever read about. Like, I have never seen anything like that. There were some cannibal tribes at like the very outskirts of the Congo Free State. They're relatively small and they weren't very powerful, but they were there. The Belgians went to those cannibal tribes. They made a deal with them, which I found very interesting, like the Zapu Zap, this is one of them. They went and they brought them in as auxiliaries in their armies.
Of cannibalism in the Congo, sir?
There were cannibal tribes. They were just very small.
I was just told that I needed to present some evidence. Where's your evidence, please?
You can.
I was going to talk about numbers, but now you're talking about people eating people. So where's the evidence?
There are primary sources that attest to this. Yeah.
Where are they?
The Congolese themselves, as well as the Belgians.
Where are they? No, I'm saying I was just told by Smash that I was doing a lieutenant right just now.
It's kind of interesting that you're asking for primary sources, even though you were making statements without any sources.
I was just told the same thing.
Okay, hold on. All right, hold on.
Thanks. That's all I want to know. I'm not denying. I'm just saying I want to see what the primary sources are. Thanks.
Yeah.
So basically, now that was interesting that you touched on that. You gotta understand that, saying something like that is a touchy subject, right? In the context
I understand.
Of the conversation, but being as though you touched on it, what is the purpose of bringing in that particular part of the information that they practice cannibalism?
No, that's not the point that I was making specifically.
Yeah, I'm just saying, when you brought that up, hold on, I'm just saying when you brought that up, I'm trying to figure out how does that tie into you talking about the Belgium and what was their particular need to have a relationship with particularly the people that were cannibal. I want to know how you gonna tie that in.
So the vast majority of the people, you have to understand. First of all, I'm not saying the Congolese are cannibals. This is not what I'm saying. I'm actually part Congolese. I just like to be grounded in reality. The vast majority of the Congo Free State did not practice cannibalism. The Kingdom of the Congo, there was no cannibalism. These were extremely civilized people. They were very wealthy. They did not even come into contact with these people because they were so far away. The Belgians,
Hold on, Holly, let them finish.
So the Congo and the Luba kingdoms, right? None of these people were cannibals. They were horrified. The Europeans practiced cannibalism, but not all of them, but some of them. In fact, the vast majority of Western Europe, especially the elite, engaged in medical cannibalism, right? This is all on record. There's no like dehumanization occurring. In fact, the Africans, hold on. Let me finish. The Western Europeans, you could argue, are like far more like savage. And this is recent. This was like in the 1600s, 1700s. You could argue these people were far more savage than the vast majority of Africans, because the majority of Africans were not engaged in cannibalism. What they did, and this is the thing that was disturbing, this is why I wanted to bring this up, the Belgians proclaimed themselves to be civilized, and they proclaimed the people, like the people of the Congo, like the Kingdom of Congo, Luba, to be subhuman. But the Belgians went into the Congo Free State, which is a massive territory. It's huge. It's not a normal sized country. They went there, and they went to the outskirts of the territory. They found random like tribes of cannibals, right? That the Arabs had made deals with in the past for protection. They bought them up and they used them to terrorize other people. And they went. The Belgians brought in the Congolese, these tribes like the Zapozap, right? You can look up the Zapozap. They exist. They're documented. Okay. Hold on. I'm not done. The Zapozap were enlisted as auxiliaries in the Belgian army. The Belgians armed cannibals. They armed them. I want you to really think about this. They armed cannibals.
Where's the information?
They paid them. Yeah, by the way, I just Googled cannibalism in Belgian Congo. There are tons of primary attestations. There are letters written by the Belgian soldiers privately that were not released until very recently, where they were talking about how it's very efficient to have these cannibals go in and terrorize the populations and eat the corpses of the people in the Luba territories and the Congo territories within the Free State, because it keeps them scared and compliant. And what they would do is they would threaten to have these cannibals like the Zapozap, these barbarians that they brought into their army, which is sick. They brought them in. They said, hey, if these people do not meet their rubber quotas, you can kill and eat them. They said this. When I wrote, I did not even believe this when I wrote, but there are tons of attestations to this. The private letters of the soldiers, they were writing about this. They said it's unsavory, but it's very efficient. These people are like disgusting. It's horrible. It's like a nightmare. I've never even read about anything like that before. It's the majority of this is not even well known. Honestly, it's very sick.
Ask you a question, Kadir. Why are you acting as if you are surprised that these people are barbarians?
No, it's not. I know how horrible they are. I know, but not this. They enlisted cannibals in their armies, and then they armed them to terrorize the non-cannibal people, which is the majority of the population.
Don't act surprised. Don't act surprised that they are such barbarians.
Look, I don't know about you guys. I understand extermination, but that was particularly disturbing. I didn't imagine, because in order to bring cannibals,
now I'm with Joey. Right? Hold on, Kadir. I'm with Joey on this. Right? Now we living in 2025. Now, what do you think about what's going on in Palestine? You don't think that that's some horrific type shit? Excuse my language. Like, if you ain't watching what they doing right now, and they Europeans, let's just cut to the chase. All of them, and I'm with Holly on this, all of them are one and the same as far as how they've treated the rest of the planet. So to be shocked about what they doing, what they did in the past, and we looking at what they doing right now, they starving people, killing them, bombing them. They're doing all this right now today as we speak. And you acting like you shocked is kind of shocking, right?
I understand.
So go ahead.
But just really, I mean, because it's the logistics of this that is disturbing. Guys, in order to bring cannibals into your army, you go and meet with these people. You talk with them. They eat people. By the way, some of those soldiers. I know, but not all the Belgian soldiers. It's just more of an elite.
Not all the Africans either.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying is the point they're making. It's not no big deal. What you kind of making a big deal out of?
Well, no.
It's not really a big deal because we know that these people was eating mummies 3,000 years ago. We already know these people been eating mummy corpses. So like, it's not really a big deal to be shocked about what Europeans will do.
But just really, okay. What I want people to do is I want you to consider what this would have looked like. The Belgian soldiers went, they met with cannibal tribes, okay? They know they're cannibals. They see them eating people. They say, hey, you know, these would make great soldiers.
Wow.
They bring them into their army. They arm them with rifles. They sleep.
I'm not.
Okay, hold on.
You kind of going too far with that. Because we're trying to tell you that that's not really a big deal. I'm not saying that you can't
that's not a big deal.
Sources. No, because what we're telling you is throughout history, these people have been exhibiting the same type of behavior. Like, what's shocking about it?
What's shocking about butchering and eating children? They were eating live people. We're not talking about mummies or anything. They're eating people. If they didn't meet their rubber quotas, they would literally say you can go and
hold on. What was going on in Europe during the Black Plague and all of this? What was going on? You don't think they was eating each other? They was eating babies and stuff like that? Do you know about the Black Plague? You know what was going on in Europe during that time?
I know during the Dark Age there was record of cannibals.
Yeah, to be fixated on
can I ask a question?
Them doing something like this, I don't understand like why you keep going on. We telling you that's not really a big deal because that's something that humans have done throughout time. But go ahead, Holly.
I don't think y'all had the right response to his what he was saying.
I feel like I'm going kind of crazy. I'll be honest.
I hear what y'all saying, but let's just go back to domestic abuse, right? And being like, oh, he whooped my ass all the time. You feel me? We ain't shocked that you said he just socked him in the eye or her in the eye because he beat her ass all the time. That's kind of what I'm getting from y'all refutation of what Kadir is saying.
No, Smash.
No, we saying that in Palestine, who are not Africans, Europeans are doing the same thing. They did it to the Indians. They did it to the Arabs. They do it to everybody. They did it to the Indians in America.
So I'm saying, I hear what you're saying, but that don't make it no less egregious.
No, it doesn't. But what I'm saying is he's making it like it's a big deal that there's some cannibals in Africa that eat people. You see what I'm saying?
Most people don't. Most people. No.
He's shocked that Africans do.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. No. That's not what I said. What I said, because the point that I'm making, first of all, most people do not have like the level of knowledge that you have, James. You're like very well read. Most people do not know the extent of like the just barbarism. It's very bad. It's very sick, and I just learned about these things recently. These people portray themselves as like maximally civilized. Like they're just like, we're the pinnacle of civilization, right? No one comes close to us. The Africans are all the Africans. The Africans.
What does civilization mean? Excuse me, but when you use the term civilization, what do you mean by that?
I think being a cannibal negates being civilized. That's
no. I didn't ask you that. I asked you, what do you mean when you say civilization? Civilized people. Who are they?
Now we have
people. Okay, so civilization doesn't necessarily mean the same thing to everybody, right? It's kind of like a nebulous term. Some people say civilization, some people are referring to like an organized state. Some people refer to like, personal moral ethic. But in my case, what I'm saying is that these people are engaging in uncivilized behavior, but like the worst possible uncivilized behavior.
Okay,
but they portray themselves as civilized. Most people do not understand.
Kadar, can I say something? I give etymology. I give etymology because I found that etymology is extremely important, because when we get to words, we find we're using words without knowledge of the etymology. So the root of civilization is simply to be civil. So any person who is civil, in other words, civil means that you're not going to treat me badly, that you're going to treat me with respect and accommodation, right? That is the entire meaning of civilization. Yes?
Maybe etymologically, but not all people.
That's all I'm dealing with, because I find...
Imagine if the world was just about all people just treating each other with respect and no advancements. No, see, really the base of civilization, if we go back to primitive times, it'll be about man being able to make contracts with each other. What I mean by contracts is agreements. Like,
Slow down, Smash. Slow down, Smash. When you say primitive, what is primitive? I'm curious.
I'm saying if we going back to prehistoric is what I'm trying to say. Time, ancient times. Yeah, you know
what? I understand I understand everything, and that's why I said I had to go and start writing myself and looking up all these things, because I live it with English. They stole my language, as you said earlier on. They stole my language and they gave me these other words to utilize. And I find that we keep using all these words out of proper context. Context meaning everything.
I understand that. I understand that. Let's just deal with the two we're dealing with right now. We was at civilization before we went over to the other one, and we just trying to divine it for some strange sense. But it would go beyond us just being nice and polite to each other in that sense of civility, because we have to have an agreement to stop at a light when it's red, right? In order to have a civilization. And so we set up all kind of agreements that we as a people agree to, and then we form a society that's based on the rules of this civilization.
And this is what we did in order to create what they call the Nile Valley civilization, as Tony Browder put it in his book, right? So it came about because people was being civil towards one another, and they got together and they created this culture. Yes, I call it the high culture.
But we talking about it because the brother said that these invaders were uncivilized.
Yes,
they break the agreements that we tend to have to run a society.
They're completely honorless. They're completely honorless. Completely
all white people have been uncivilized. All white people have been uncivilized. All people who call themselves white have been uncivilized.
But let me
understand that. What I was saying,
up until today,
that sounds like a blanket statement. Would you say?
It is. No. It's not a blanket statement, because I was married to a white woman. There's people, but I tell you what, right? There's people that call themselves white, right? Because when they use the term, like the brother was saying, where do you find white to in the world? There's no white country, there's no white anything except what people made up in their minds to be white. Yeah. So when we're using these terms, we're gonna actually go to the root of it and feel why they're being used even. Yeah. So I have the term pagan. Pagan simply means somebody who's outside of the boundaries of the city.
But we have to step back.
I just want to like tie up what I was saying initially.
Good. I just came on because I don't like how people just say things without getting to the root of things, and that's what I like to get.
No, that's fine. I'm with that. That's
the same way you went and researched to see what Kemet meant, and it did not mean have anything to do with the land, had everything to do with the water.
But right now, let's just deal with the civilization thing. Let's see if Kadir could respond.
Right. Okay. So first of all, I mean, I think generally the majority of human beings would say that if you are, especially if your army is engaged with cannibals, who, by the way, the Europeans portray cannibals as savage, right, and uncivilized, and degenerate, and like maximally depraved, right? If your soldiers are engaging with those people, that makes you uncivilized. The Belgian troops, on record, the Belgian troops, who said? The Belgian troops became cannibals. Many of these people actually began to eat people as well, right? This is also on record. There are primary sources attesting to this. I have there are letters. There are letters. The Belgian soldiers were. Okay, can I finish what I was? The Belgian soldiers. Man, are you like? You get pedantic with like everything. Like you would disagree with the word I used, and you don't let me finish my point.
Yeah, let it finish, man.
So the Belgians engaged in like very like uncivilized behavior, but they portrayed themselves as civilized. You know, Mark Twain. It was so bad that actually people in Europe, like Mark Twain, writers like him, like European writers, European descendant writers, they began to write about the savagery of Belgium in the Congo. They were saying that he was feeding children to cannibals. Mark Twain wrote this, actually. And that's actually one of the reasons why they had to shut down what they were doing. They wanted to genocide that country. They killed half the population, right? And they were just tearing through the population. They were working them to death. They didn't meet their quotas. They would feed them to cannibals. They would slaughter and feed them to cannibals. There's actually a picture of a father, this black father. You can find this in Getty Images, I think. It's this Congolese man, black and white, sitting on a stoop, looking at his daughter's severed hand, because she was literally butchered, and I believe she was eaten. She was butchered and eaten. These, I mean, people do not understand the extent of like the depravity. I can't even believe some of this shit. And I understand, like, you know, they engage in medical cannibalism, yes, but eating mummies is not eating live human beings.
Oh, let me see. No, not to cut you off, but all our brothers were saying was like, I can't believe some of this shit appeared to be a bit hyperbole to them. Like, why you can't believe it? Motherfuckers been hanging from trees right here in the U.S.
So you think that hanging a person from a tree is the same?
I'm not
eating people.
I'm not espousing that sentiment. I'm saying that's what they were saying earlier. You see what I'm saying?
Burn Africans. They burned them alive. What's worse? Like, what are you talking about?
But let's not rival on that, because I messed up. I messed up by bringing that back up. I think we got past that point. In order to keep the conversation constructive, let's keep going forward. I don't want to take it backwards.
Yeah, but hold on. Let me take it forward to right now today. The United States deemed the Taliban terrorists. Do you know that they just made the Taliban the president of Syria right now?
Yeah, we know they do that all the time.
Yeah.
They do that all the time.
So what I'm saying is they've been dealing with people that they'll call cannibals, terrorists, or whatever. This is what they do. Yeah. So don't be surprised, Kadir. That's what I'm kind of shocked at you being shocked. That's what my thing is. You know what I'm saying?
Fine. That's fine. But that's not.
James, these stories are horrible, though, man. Like, some of these letters, they're sick. These soldiers were like, "Hey, yeah, you know, they eat people, but it's really efficient." I mean, eating people is not the same as killing
in the same country you talking about. You talking about the same country where they lined Africans up and shot them with one bullet to save the bullets. That's what you're talking about? The Congo?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, you're talking about Leopold. We already know. I mean, well, some of us know how egregious these people are. But when you give somebody a blanket with a disease in it, like, what is going on?
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, you have to really just maybe you knew to this type. Maybe this is shocking.
I know about the picture to you, and they had no reference to any cannibalism.
So then where do we go after that? So it was atrocious. We all agree it was atrocious. Now what? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. So to finish, moving past all of that, the point that I was making to Haile Mariam is that they don't necessarily, like in the Congo, they wanted to. The goal, I think, was actually just to work everyone to death and exterminate the population, maybe to replace them, and create their own colony. They tried that in Zimbabwe with Rhodesia. Right, Rhodesia failed ultimately. They succeeded in South Africa. Right, they established a colony that's lasted centuries, and they've been exploiting it ruthlessly. They have different strategies in different places depending on what the context is. That's all I was saying. So in that way, there are differences between like how Black people around the world were treated. It depends on like where they are and what the context is. But for the most part, I would say it was pretty similar, almost the same, except for those differences and variants depending on context.
Well, I got a question for everybody, and we can go around the panel. If you was the president of South Africa and you was willing to address the situation with this all the landowners being colonists who came in and stole that shit in the first place, right? And then you at the precipice or whatever they at of trying to get that land back, how do you address it? Joey, you already told us how you felt earlier in the show. You like, take it from them. Let's hear how others address that situation as a leader of a nation.
Oh, well, I guess I'll go first then. I would I would appropriate the land like Nelson Mandela and them initially said that they were going to do. This is not something that that just popped up. When Nelson Mandela, when he got out of prison, that was the plan from the ANC, is to appropriate the land. So what Julius Malema is doing is he just following the old plan of what they said from the past. When he's to kill the boy, all that, he just rehashing or being a continuation of what Winnie Mandela and them and the ANC originally was about. But they kind of got sidetracked, just like many of our organizations do, based on, infiltration, bribery, and all of the other stuff that keeps us stagnated. So that's what's so refreshing about the AES, is because they're following the same models of Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, and so forth. So the fight ain't over with, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, that we still fighting. And what we're witnessing now is something that is a continuation of what happened in 1960. We just never did complete the mission. So the mission is still what it was back in the 1960s, which is to take our land back and take our resources and get a fair deal for our people so we can start building Africa. That's what it is. So that's what I'm saying. What they're talking about is what the ANC first original mission was, and a lot of people don't know it. So that's to appropriate the land that was taken from them during their colonization, and that's what it is.
So can I say something now?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so what Brother James said is exactly true. Mugabe was doing the same thing, but what the president of South Africa is doing right now, he's saying, well, we're not just going to take the land, we're going to take the land and give you a fair price for it, type of thing. Yeah, but what I was thinking about is what is the brothers doing up in Burkina Faso. He said he took the land because what happens is that a lot of people certain people had the land and they wouldn't do anything. They weren't doing anything with it. Yeah, they would just leave it there just to say, oh, well, I don't got land. But he said he took all the land back and put it under the government's control so that it could be utilized properly, so that nobody has got all these big holdings so that they could oppress somebody. Yeah, that's the whole thing about it, right? So the whole thing about what we're talking about is that we're always trying to be fair in an unfair world. Yeah, black people always trying to do the right thing, and they're living with people that don't do the right thing at all. Yeah, because nobody is told, like the whole thing about America, the whole thing about anywhere that the European went and he set up house. That's why I said. That's why I mentioned about the hacker before, but the people over in New Zealand is doing. Yeah, that they're talking about you set up a treaty, but now you're all trying to do something different. Yeah, so we are talking. So what Touré is doing is something that I would do as well, because that is what benefits the people, not the individual.
I want to ask a question about let somebody want to chime in on that real quick, because now I want to ask some questions about the uncivilized thing. And the reason why I limited it down to, not limited it to, but expressed it as a series of contracts between humans set up a civilization, is because you can see uncivilized stuff happen right now in society. Meaning, like when somebody just hop out in the world like they're on the sticks and they go, like they're on a video game and they go do like grand theft, auto crimes, like they shoot up this house, then they run, carjack a car, you know what I'm saying? They breaking all the contracts, doing everything you ain't supposed to do. Is that person still civilized, or is that person uncivilized, or how do that work? That person's uncivilized, if you ask me, no matter what clothes he got on, what language he speaks. If he breaking all of these contracts that we set up to run a society, then that person uncivilized. I could be wrong.
But Smash, we have to ask the question, right? What kind of contracts if they're going with your premise, if they set up a contract to behave like animals, then they're not uncivilized.
No, okay, I hear what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, and I'm using the word contract, right? But what I mean is, we all have an agreement that humans don't eat each other, right? That's just an agreement amongst humans set up a long time ago. So when someone breaks that agreement, they are like uncivilized because they're breaking the human agreement. We have agreement that we defecate in particular areas, toilets.
Yeah,
if a person go outside and defecate on the street,
it's uncivilized.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
But listen,
So
but hold on for a second. Smash. Remember, long time ago in Europe, the social agreement was that I could defecate everywhere and anywhere, and they was cool with
that's a very good point, Joey. How is that addressed right now? They lived uncivilized, Joey.
Yeah, they did.
But it was cool with them though. So
no, but they were uncivilized.
That shit out is what Smash.
No, I'm saying. But that's their civilization though, Smash.
One could say that was unhygienic.
With the contract, I could do the way I want to.
I think the contracts are with all humans. Then we're going to let Haley. I heard Haley trying to say something. So just to reconcile what we're saying, I think these are social contracts with humanity. Like no matter what country you own, something represents a red light when traffic should stop. We got different ways it's represented, but all throughout humanity. Now, if you go into one particular social group or particular group and they have customs that are breaking these agreements, we call that group uncivilized.
Well, that's a fair statement. That's a fair statement. I could deal with that.
It's true.
I agree with that. That's fair.
Yes. So what I definitely don't disagree with that there, because one could use another term and say unhygienic from what they was doing, and that's why the Black Plague that somebody mentioned was so rampant because of the way they lived, and that's why they said when the Moors, because somebody else accused me of being a Moorish guy, but anyhow, I am a Moorish guy because it simply means like Kemet. Kemet's the same word as Moor, but anyhow, when they
you gonna let that slide, Smash?
What? When they were being like,
I'm just messing with you. He said Kim mean more. I'm just messing with you.
We know that don't go, but keep going, Haley. You can keep
going. No, more means black, simply black. That's all it means. More, a black person. That's all it meant. Nothing more, nothing less. The same way as Kemet meant not a black person. Nothing more, nothing less. Yes? You agree to that?
It's derived from a Greco-Roman word. It's derived from a Greco-Roman word, though.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
All right.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, Lord have mercy. Anyhow, I'm getting back to all these other Greco-Roman words that you told about using. Lord. Anyhow, this word, civilization, and that's what I wrote. Reasons, the high culture we created was because we were living and understanding that we weren't going to be fighting. So we developed a technology which the Europeans coming in, they called that civilization. Yes, but it was then civilization because we were civil to each other, which allowed us to develop to these things. Because as when you read in the George G.M. James's book, what's that?
Even being civil, not to cut you off, but even being civil to each other is just keeping these contracts that we agreed upon.
Yes, exactly.
Like, okay, don't smack a man in the face for no reason.
Exactly.
Somebody just smack you in the face. They like uncivilized.
Uncivil and barbarous. That's barbarous. That's being barbaric. Yeah? So that's what I'm saying. So we used our civilization to develop our surroundings. Yes? So we used all the materials that are around us to create these things. So that's why we created, when the European came, he found everything in full effect. When you read a book like George G.M. James talking about why the Europeans couldn't do this, is because they was always fighting each other. There was always that war with each other.
Well,
that's
some
not
of that's true, but some of that ain't true. They did do this. I don't get it.
What's that? You know what?
So Europeans didn't build powerful nations?
European. When you say that, I just trying to figure out what you mean by build powerful nations.
Man, I know you can't be in that.
The reason why I say that to you is because looking at history, I'm looking at Britain was a powerful nation. France was a powerful nation. Yeah? But but like you said, they didn't stop them from being barbaric. But I'm talking about powerful in what way? Because the technology that they used wasn't their end.
Don't matter.
I know, but that don't negate the original point. They built powerful nations. Being uncivilized.
I said to you that but they didn't use it from
we
the
gotta
end.
stop being haters. That's what we gotta stop.
I know, man.
Right.
That's what you just gotta stop being haters. If somebody is like, we gotta acknowledge right now that we ain't on top. Like, damn, like what's wrong? What's hard about it?
Definitely. I'm not denying that part.
So when somebody is on, so if we can acknowledge we not on top, who on top, Hadley?
But what just to make them civilized?
You don't want to answer the question. You ask the question.
No.
Right now, I asked you a question.
Excuse me. I'm talking about civilization. I'm talking about civilization.
I don't back to civilization. That's true.
I don't think technology makes you civilized. I don't think a car is a civilized, is an advancement in civilization.
No, but you gotta admit that it's a product of being civilized. Because then people agree to work together and they agree to go in and they agree to focus on one thing. That's the series of agreements. Still, it's part of the civilization.
Okay, can I ask you a question? But remember you're talking about this thing about frontier genocide, right? They had an agreement amongst themselves that they're going to do this strategy. The strategy that they utilized was to exterminate the people, yes, and take over the land.
So you don't remember? Right? Then they're an uncivilized group. That it ain't no way out of it. But they was uncivilized. They did stuff that we say that we ain't gonna do as humans.
Right. That's the point.
The contract.
And that's the point. But that's the point.
And they willing to break the contract, and you got to understand that.
They had the contract amongst themselves. We were not a part of their contract.
So here's the thing. We need to know when we say that we dealing with uncivilized people, we know we saying that they're going to break contracts. They're going to lie. They're going to steal. They're going to do all the shit that goes in with being uncivilized.
But Smash, let me put something in here, right? We talk about ancient Kemet all the time, right? But they had pretty harsh penalties for people who they considered no good, savage, scumbag people, and they did some things that we might say are egregious.
That's fine.
Say it again.
That's fine. Keep going.
Right. So we know that the punishment for treason was to burn someone alive, right?
I don't know that, but keep going.
Right.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Yes, they showed us They showed us instances where people were burned alive in ancient Kemet for messing around.
No, they didn't.
And had hands getting chopped off too.
Who is they showed us? Hold on, I gotta come back and repeat that real quick. I'll be right back.
I've never read that anywhere.
Chop off hands though. We saw that though.
Yeah, but I didn't know if there was a line.
He done backtracked already.
I didn't know if there was a line when they took the hand off.
This is crazy. Yo, you said they burned them alive. Then you said, well, we do know they chopped off some hands. We know they chopped off some hands.
Reggie was showing instances in the TLA where they were talking about burning Asiatic people alive. If you also talking about Aung San Suu Kyi, the individuals, according to the text from Mariam Lichko, when they found out what they were doing, they burned them alive immediately. They set a funeral pyre and they threw them on the pyre in the house.
Excuse me, Jay, you said,
really?
Excuse me, Jay, you said in TLA, you said TLA, then you mentioned Mary Litch. Which one, the TLA or the Mary Litch?
No. What I said was, Brother Reggie was showing us the instances in the TLA where they were burning addicts alive. And then I saw Carr read something from Mariam Lichko where they put Aung San Suu Kyi in jail because he didn't speak up about a plot. And when they were dealing with the individuals who were actually plotting to kill the Pharaoh, it says in the text that they made a funeral pyre in the corner of the room where they were and threw them on the funeral pyre and burned them alive as a penalty for treason. So we know that these things happen.
So do you know he was alive because it was a funeral? They said it was a funeral, or maybe they were burning him alive for his death. That's why it was a funeral.
Well, all right. They threw him on the funeral pyre.
Interesting.
Didn't necessarily say. Maybe I give you that. Maybe they.
You said this was early dynastic. You said it was
one thing I do know that happened in Bermuda, and it's written in the book, and happened to a lady. Yeah, it literally happened to a lady in Bermuda, same way that she was burnt alive on the stake. Yeah, we made it. Miss Sarah Bassett. Anyhow, this,
no,
like you said,
hold on, Harley. Smash, if I'm wrong, you can correct me on that. If I'm wrong, you can correct me.
Joe, did you say it was Ger?
Say it again?
Did you say it was Ger? That was early dynastic, right?
Said no, this was during the Angsha shock. I don't know the exact year, but apparently there was a plot that he was thrown in jail for not saying anything. And the people who actually
late
Shashank. Yeah, Shashank was late. Yeah, Shashank was late.
Right. But they did say that these people were burned alive.
Nah. So what you talking about? I missed that.
No. Reggie was reading something in the TLA saying that they were burning Asiatic people.
Oh yeah, you don't remember I beat him up? Oh no, I got the Nubian and the Nubian and the Asiatic burning here. I can pull that up right now.
Okay, so am I wrong? Am I wrong that they were alive at the time?
Yeah, you're wrong for using that as a source for what you were saying, because that's hella inconclusive.
Thank you.
We could pull it up.
But like I have conclusive proof.
Hold on, us, man. Let us see what you're talking about.
Am I wrong? If I'm wrong, correct me. Am I wrong?
I tried to warn you, Joey.
No, I'm asking. If I'm wrong, correct me. I don't want to.
But don't keep doing it. But you correct yourself, Joey. You keep asking for somebody to correct you. Correct yourself.
Exactly. You just heard what we said. So why don't you just say, okay, y'all say that, I'll say this. So you can correct yourself.
Well, I could have misunderstood the source. That is what I'm saying. I don't want to be sounding crazy.
Research it down, Jay.
So you said that which attestation could be used to say ancient Egyptians burned people alive.
That was my understanding of what I was reading.
What was that source again? Let's go over.
It was I can't say specifically, but
or non-specifically, what was it?
I guess that's the point, right? You're like, damn, these dudes don't give a fuck.
Hold on,
that's probably the point.
You got it.
Oh, sorry about that.
See what text it was. I can't say specifically.
You had just said it when I stepped away. I'm trying to check when I come back. I heard it when I walked out.
It's two sources that I gave. One was the TLA, and the other one was Mariam Litcom in the story of Ankh Shashank, where they talked about him being put in jail for life because he didn't expose the conspiracy. And when the suit was talking to the individuals who were involved, they built a funeral pyre in the corner and threw them on it as punishment for attempting to kill him.
I don't know nothing about that. That might be my limited knowledge, and maybe you know more about that. Yeah.
All right.
That's what I'm saying, Jay. Go ahead and see if you can refine it, mate. That's all good.
What we could do is revisit it later.
But like I said, in Bermuda, there's direct evidence of Europeans burning up this black lady for that.
Number one, I don't have the text on hand to do it. I could do it later and look it up and see if I'm wrong. We could check and I can specifically say how to look up the source for the TLA source. So if you want to revisit it later, Smash, we could always do that because I have the book. I just don't have it on my phone to be able to look it up to see exactly what it says. So
do you know? But do you know what to find it though? That's the question.
No, if you go into Mariam Litcom, you could search the different
different books in it.
One is the TLA and one is one of Mariam Litcom books. She can always look that up later, and I can always look up the TLA one as well. But I can't.
That would be awesome because, like I said, I'm always about learning. So learning new stuff is very good.
Okay.
Yeah, and the good thing about that is we know these people, so they could pop up at any second. So that's not a big thing because both of the people you're talking about, Brother Reggie and the Song Ka, right?
Yes.
Oh, we're gonna do that whole subject. I'll do a whole show on that. What's the name of the show? What's it? You thought that was burning people in Kemet?
Right. That's
the show.
Man, I'll pull that up right now and show you only one attestation to that.
With the Cometians?
Huh?
How Barak with the Cometians?
I'm gonna do a show on that, but I gotta step out and help my daughter with her car real quick.
Right.
So I'm going to end this real quick. Anybody want to get some last words? Thanks to everybody for contributing and making it another good show.
Like I said, this is my first time coming on any of these shows here, and I'm glad I came on. But for me, I think for me, a good practice for people would be to do like what Smash does, because we go into the TLA and look at these words and see what they mean and go into this, see what they mean. It would be a good practice to do that, the same thing with English, the words, the language that we're utilizing to get more correct and more succinct and for what we're saying, yes?
Yeah, I'm gonna come back, and I'll be saying I'm gonna come back quick, but I'm gonna go help her with her car and come back and research that live. So if anybody interested, I'm gonna be on that within the next hour, I think. Anybody else?
All right, well, man, it's good you popped up, Smash. I was surprised to see you. So, yeah, good to speak with everybody. Good to meet you, you brothers, Kadir and Haley. I never met y'all before. Peace, Joy, and peace, Smash. I'm out.
All right.
Word up.
So what I'm gonna do, Smash, I'm gonna look it up, and I'm probably gonna just throw up a little bit of that on.
Get your
on
sources, because I'm about to beat the brakes off that in like 10 seconds.
All right.
You're gonna be so mad you only got one source.
No, I have two sources. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, two ain't enough, but all right, we're gonna come back. I'll be back in a minute.
I'm gonna look it up. I can read it on my platform. And
The ancient Egyptians burn people
Bye-bye.
alive.
All right. I'm going to look it up and see if I'm correct. And if I'm not correct, I'll apologize. But
all right, cool. Peace.
Haley, right?
All right, cool. You want to say something,
All
Haley,
right.
before we go?
All right, Smash. Later.
Peace. All right. I guess not. You don't want to get nothing in. I'm going to close this down. And I'll be back in a minute. All right, everybody. I got to handle some business. Talk to y'all in a minute. Be right back on my study hike. Then I got to work. I got to do some more editing. I've been editing. All right. Peace. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the cash apps at Smash Rockwell, because it's y'all who keep the show going. All right.